Everybody ready, set, go. Rev it up and let's roll. There's a party in the fast lane. Got my hands on the wheel and I'm flying. Heartbeat loud as the thunder rolls. Riding in on a stampede of lightning. I'm bringing back the sunshine. Bringing back the sunshine. Baby, it's about time. Oh, bring it back. Oh,
Welcome to Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Racing. It's the Overton's 301. Let's go to Kelly Staples.
Jimmy Johnson could become a four-time winner here in Loudon today, but his crew chief Chad Knaus told me with stage racing and this sticky track surface, the old notes don't apply. Good news, he starts on the front row, Marty.
Kelly, the show to watch today will be Kyle Larson, who starts 39th after qualifying first on Friday after a post-qualifying infraction. He'll start at the rear of the field. He told me, my goal by the end of lap 75 in stage 1, be in the top 5, Dave.
With 8 races till the playoffs, Matt Kenseth still needs a win in 2017. Why not come to the place where he did it last year, right here at this time? NASCAR is in New Hampshire. It's time to start the cars.
The moment you've waited for has arrived. Now here to give the command to start engines for today's Overton's 301. Please welcome your Grand Marshal, founder of Overton's, Parker Overton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, New Hampshire, for supporting Overton's. And now join with me in saying, drivers, start your engines.
Fire crane when you're ready, Kevin. You can fire it up when you're ready.
The engines are fired. The intensity about to ramp up. Green flags coming up next.
I've worked my whole life to get in this position. I've had plenty of years where there was no possible way, no matter what I did.
His first win in the Busch North Series.
3 wins. That's pretty amazing, man.
It's great.
Martin Truex Jr. is climbing in.
Martin Truex Jr. is going to win his first Nextel Cup race. Martin Truex Jr. would run for a championship.
This is the kind of thing you dream about since you're a little kid.
Well, I can't believe we're lucky anymore.
Checker flag. Right? Get some of that.
I never thought I'd make it to where I'm at today.
The journey starts today at the front of the field. Very special track for the Truex family. Martin's dad and his brother have both won here, but none of the Truexes have won at the highest level here in the Cup Series.
Starting right behind them in row 2, Matt Kenseth and Jamie McMurray. Matt Kenseth looking for a ride next season.
In row 3, you have Casey Kane and Eric Jones. Eric Jones was in the news all week when Tuesday it was announced he would take over the 20 car at Joe Gibbs Racing next season.
Back in row 4, that's JGR cars. They've been in a slump. Kyle Busch on a winless streak nearly a year now.
Row 5, Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski. Kurt Busch won the Daytona 500 this year. Been tough riding ever since. Looking to turn that around today.
Row 6, we have Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick. Chase Elliott leads virtually every category at Hendrick Motorsports this year except for wins. 0 in that column, trying to change that today.
And back in row 7, the Middletown, Connecticut native, Joey Logano. He needs a win. This is a great opportunity at a racetrack where he got his first win. Had the opportunity to talk with Kevin Harvick before the green flag flies. Let's dial him up on the radio.
Hey, Kevin, it's Burton up in the booth. Got time to talk?
Yes, sir.
Well, we've heard a lot about this traction compound they put on the racetrack. Going to change how you drive. Tell me how that changes how you approach today.
Well, I think you have to be very open-minded as to where you're going to run on the racetrack. Obviously, spotters, crew chiefs, everybody watching. has to keep us aware of when things are starting to move around. We saw the upper lane get really wore out yesterday, and you could use the bottom. So you just got to be open-minded to move around.
Well, look, man, I hate to put you on the spot, but I got a personal question for you. What is the deal with your son Keelan wanting a Ryan Blaney t-shirt, man? What is that all about?
Well, you know how kids are, and, you know, I guess it could be a lot worse, but, you know, every week it kind of rotates around. Blaney's pretty consistent, and when you put him in a Cars movie, I'm pretty much second fiddle at that point, so I guess it is what it is, right?
Hey, you put that 4-car in Victory Lane today, and we know who Keelan will like. Good luck, bud.
Thanks, guys.
And it was announced about a week ago, actually, Keelan made the announcement that he's going to be a big brother. So they're expecting their second child. Aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And what a picture-perfect day it is here in the New England area. Let's break down this just over mile track, the Magic Mile they call it, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. 301 laps, 318.5 miles, the total distance, and really actually short race.
Very short race, but it gets broken down into 3 stages. 75 laps for each of the first 2 stages, 151 for the final stage.
And as always, the pit roads are closed with 2 laps to go at the end of stages 1 and 2.
And the conversation all weekend has been about the surface. We just heard Kevin Harvick talk about it. This agent has been put down. We're going to see it change the racing here at the flat 1-mile track today.
Before the green flag flies, let's go to Rutledge Wood.
Had some harsh words in his mind for the other competitors last weekend in Victory Lane in Kentucky. Take a listen as Cole threw down the gauntlet for his team.
Do you guys get frustrated when everyone's like, man, they're so good on the 1.5 miles? This wasn't just a win. Was this a statement?
I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be a statement if we go to win Loudon next week and shut them up about the 1.5 mile thing. So hopefully we're holding some lobster next week, but we'll enjoy this one for sure.
So, guys, keep in mind, Cole's Canadian, so he's a little bit kinder than a lot of us down here. Those are his trash-talking words. Guys, the question is today, are they going to shut everybody else up with another win?
That's a great question, and it would go back-to-back. Like you mentioned, he won at Kentucky a week ago, looking to get another win and add more playoff points to his resume already. Let's take a look at today's Ram Guts and Glory.
Well, I think it all starts with the track conditions. We just heard Kevin Harvick talk about the groove's going to move. You're going to have to be willing to move around to find where your car is the best. You're going to have to be brave and try to do things you would never have done on this racetrack before.
Well, then the glory. Kyle Busch has to be the topic of conversation. Currently in a 34-race winless streak. Not winning today would be a year, an entire calendar year for Kyle Busch not to go to Victory Lane, matching his career long.
Listen into the 78 communications.
Hi, my brother. 301 laps. Beautiful New Hampshire. About a little over 3 hours now. I want to take a picture of you holding that big old lobster, bro. Good luck fighting all day.
Let's do it, guys. Good luck in there. Have a good one. Have a good one, and good luck out there.
If he's going to hold that lobster today, that's a trophy here. You're going to have to be good on restarts. The first start of the race is coming right now. Remember, they just applied this material on the racetrack. None of these drivers know how it's going to be after it's freshly been applied. A lot of unknowns coming into the green flag.
We're about to find out. 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson on the outside. Martin Truex Jr. on the inside. Green flag in the air. Two by two through 1 and 2. Surging out front, Martin Truex Jr. and Matt Kenseth makes the move up to second. Kenseth on a tear now as Kenseth looks to the inside. He'll try to take the lead away from Martin Truex Jr.
Using the very bottom of the racetrack.
NASCAR is going to take a look at the start of the race. Right now they're posting the 48s for a start violation. And here comes Kenseth. Kenseth on the inside. Gets up to the door of Martin Truex Jr. but can't complete the pass.
That lower groove is where they applied the PJ1 material. You see on the very bottom now, Martin Truex has seen Matt Kenseth trying to run that lower groove. He's taking that groove away from Matt.
The two have separated themselves. It's Truex Jr., Kenseth McMurray, Jimmy Johnson. And I'd mentioned Jimmy Johnson running in the 4th spot, but they are going to call it a start violation for the 48, so he'll have to serve that penalty.
And Rick, the rules are different for the original start of the race. Every other start, second place can beat the leader to the line, but not on the original start, and it wasn't even close. The 48 beat Martin Truex Jr. to the start-finish line. Jeff, that would be fine over the course of the day, but not on the original start.
That's right. Jimmy Johnson needed to understand that he had a jump. It doesn't matter why. If you have that jump, you've got to slow down and let the leader get it back up. Kelly?
And obviously, Jimmy a little bit confused of why he was called down for that violation. You can listen to it over the radio.
What do I do, Chad? Come on down here next lap, right? We'll do a little pass through. What did I do wrong? Buddy, I don't know, man. All I can tell you is they want us to come down here and do a pass through.
Chad Knaus probably would have benefited from seeing that replay we just showed. One other interesting note, just before we went green, there was a transmission that the 78 was asking the 48 for the top line, but the 48 said it's a little bit late for that.
Yeah, you'll decide which lane to start from with 1 lap to go. When they give you the 1 to go before the green, that's when you choose your lane. And Martin Truex Jr. had chose the inside lane.
And Rick, we talked about this at the top of the show. Martin Truex Jr., he started at the front of the field, but the 42 of Kyle Larson, he started shotgun. Dead last on the field in the 39th position. And look at him driving inside of Eric Almirola, taking over the 22nd position.
Impressive how far that 42 has moved up. You see 16 spots there gained now for that 42. And one thing they found in practice yesterday is that Kyle Larson's car was so much better on the early part of a run. So he told me initially here, I'm going to be very aggressive, but I still have to keep in mind patience all day long. It's a short race, Jeff. Passing is very tough, but you have to be patient to get through this field, don't you, as a driver?
Yes, you do. It's a short race, Marty. And remember, a competition caution at lap 35. So the more cars that Kyle can pass right now, the group's going to get bunched back up. Then he can go get some more. So starting in the back, that competition caution is actually an advantage to Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson continuing to move up through the field. Did just get by Matt DiBenedetto on the 32. With Kyle Larson up to the 20th spot. And it's side-by-side racing. Ryan Blaney in the 21 trying to hug that inside line as Larson's coming up on these drivers racing side-by-side. There's Eric Jones in the 77. The young man you just mentioned tagged to take over for the 20 next year, and Brad Keselowski working the outside line now.
And Rick, so much has been made about Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, his dominance this year. I think we forgot about his teammate, the 77 of Eric Jones, a rookie, first ever year at the Cup level, and really has had a decent year. While he hasn't made any fireworks in victory lane, he also hasn't made very many bad moves on the racetrack. It's just kind of been a good, solid season, and he's kind of my dark horse pick, Jeff. Showed very good in practice, and here he is battling with Brad Keselowski.
He had very good speed in practice. See Brad Keselowski using that bottom lane where the PJ1 material has been added, but also that top lane where the 77 car is. That also, you can see the two distinct black grooves around the racetrack. That is where the material was added. Both those cars were using the material in two different lanes.
Battle for third. Kyle Busch on the inside, Jamie McMurray on the outside. McMurray has that third spot. Kyle Busch trying to move up there and get it. And again, Kyle Busch, it's been 34 races, a 34 race winless streak that Kyle Busch is on, trying to get out of that position and get locked into the playoffs. The former series champion.
And Jamie McMurray having a solid year also. Hasn't gotten that win yet, but we see them consistently running in the top 5.
And now he's got the momentum. Kyle Busch gets to the outside of the 1. Little wiggle there as he came out of turn 4. We'll see if he can complete the pass as he goes through 1 and 2. And Jeff, is it odd to see these cars running way down on the bottom of the track and then 2 grooves up on the high side when the normal groove is right in between those 2 strips?
That's right. The normal groove is in between those 2 strips, and it's going to be interesting to see as the race goes along and the material gets worn off the racetrack, if they migrate to that middle. That's going to be it. And does the bottom wear out quicker than the top, or vice versa? These are things we just don't know. It's clear that the material is working right now because we have people running in it. As it changes, it may not work as well. Marty.
And Jeff, it's great to have options here at New Hampshire, and you can understand as a driver the position Kyle Busch is in this weekend. You guys mentioned it. When he goes to Indianapolis next week, if he doesn't win here this weekend, it'll have been a year since he went to victory lane. Yes, his team has had fast race cars all year long, and yes, they hear those questions every week, Jeff. When are you going to win? They don't want to go to Indy without a win in the column.
Now you see the 37. Trevor Bayne just in front of the 31 of Ryan Newman. Newman trying to get by him.
The 37 of Chris Buescher.
Excuse me, Chris Buescher in the 37.
We talk about great vantage points all around the racetrack. Well, Chris Buescher carries, I think, the best vantage point of anything. He has the Liberty Tax onboard camera, and included in that onboard camera is this, the helmet cam. It is truly, I feel, the absolute best view we've ever seen to really understand what a driver sees as you see him looking ahead, trying to run down the car in front of him, picking up his marks, getting into the corner, but at the same time, trying to defend against the 31 of Ryan Newman on the bottom of the racetrack.
By far the best shot ever in racing in regard to what it looks like for the driver. This is it. This is exactly what a driver sees, exactly what he's looking at.
And guys, Chris Buescher totally agrees with you. He says, I try to get my friends to watch racing that haven't watched it before. And when I saw this angle, I said, watch on Sunday because you're going to see it the way we feel it.
A crazy ride. As we continue to ride along with Chris Buescher in the 37. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson, even after the start violation and coming to pit road, he was able to stay on the lead lap. So Jimmy Johnson still on the lead lap, but running 35th. NASCAR.com is a place you can find NASCAR Drive. It's the live race day companion. Now available on your mobile device. Select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. Out in front, Martin Truex Jr. has about a 2.5-second lead over second place, Matt Kenseth. Let's listen in on spotter communication from Kenseth.
The 11, the 4, and the 2, they've migrated up there to that third lane for that VHT, pulling it down on exit. They're making some headway. You're still fast.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
And I think that's something we're going to hear all day long. The spotters are going to have to watch who's the fastest car on the racetrack and where are they running. And even if the guy behind you is catching you a little bit, he's going to need to inform the driver, hey, look, this guy is doing this. This is where his strong point is. So you can attempt to block that run. Drivers, crew chiefs, and spotters communication today in these situations is very, very, very important. How about this? 42 car all the way up, battling for 11th with Kevin Harvick.
I was going to say, you talk about cars and the track changing and setup. Those are all fun to talk about, and they're all great narratives. But the simple fact is, if you have a great car and a great driver, you can succeed. And that's what the 42 is showing. Riding on board here with Kevin Harvick, cutting Kyle Larson a little slack right there with the Busch Beer onboard camera. He's going to show you right here how good the 42 is. You see a couple car lengths back. Watch the 42 in the middle of the corner. He's got to basically drive out of frame, taking distance away from the 4. Look how good the 42 gets on the gas, Jeff, leaving the 4 of Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, it just accelerates, and that's so important in New Hampshire. If you can roll the middle with good speed and get to the throttle quickly, that's very difficult to beat in New Hampshire. Marty.
Hey, fellas, I'll use one word Spotter said a moment ago. Wow, you should see that 42. It's so impressive what they've been able to do today, and it kind of makes me laugh now because before the green flag, he told me as he was climbing in, he said, if I can get to the top 5 by the end of this first stage, I'll be happy. Here he is already, 26 laps in, flirting with the top 10. Right in front of him, Chase Elliott, and he said, car's a little sketchy when it starts out, but it's getting a little bit better the longer they run, a little free. And he joked with me earlier this week. He said, you know, if you looked at our numbers here at New Hampshire, you'd laugh and say, you're terrible at that racetrack. But actually, I feel like we'll be pretty good this weekend. Pretty strong so far, Rick.
Riding along, the Ford performance in car of Joey Logano, looking back at that 24 of Chase Elliott. Again, one of the younger drivers out there on the track at just 21 years old.
Yeah, Marty was laughing about being wrong. I was laughing when he said the top 5 after 75 laps for Kyle Larson. I thought that was going to be next to impossible on this racetrack, but he's proving us wrong. But they're going to get tougher as they catch cars like Joey Logano and Chase Elliott. You know, the reason these cars are running towards the front is because they have a little bit more pace, a little bit more speed than the back half of the field.
And is there something a little more desire maybe out of that 42 team? 2 weeks in a row they've been hit with penalties and violations for Kyle Larson to say, you know what, I'll show you guys. I'm going to drive from the back to the front.
Well, you heard him say in his interview in the pre-race show that it has been a distraction, and he wants to put the distraction behind him. This is the best way to do it, to drive up through the field, let everybody know that they are trying to prove that they can get up there and run with the 78.
Dave Burns.
Well, Brad Keselowski isn't exactly pulling a Kyle Larson right now, but he has driven from 10th starting position all the way up to 4th in that 2 car. But his spotter, Joey Meyer, he wants even more. He said his entry is good, but what I really need him to do is slow that back just a little bit so that his exit can be better. That's where everyone is getting us, Kelly.
Denny Hamlin running 6th has been as high as 4th in this. Of course, they're still looking for their first win, as all of JGR is. But when I talked to crew chief Mike Wheeler, he said, sure, there's a little frustration, but we know we're running well and executing well. And as much as we see the headlines, we are proud that we're running up front and we're getting points. We're not guessing how to get faster. We're actually figuring it out.
Continuing to move forward. Kyle Larson into the top 10 already on lap 30.
So to be clear, Rick, before this race started, I think I made a comment that this would be more difficult getting to the front than it was last week for Kyle Larson at Kentucky. I was wrong. I mean,
he's still not in the front.
Going through them.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't pass cars like this at New Hampshire. This is something I don't remember seeing this in 30 laps. The guy is at 10th. This is something that I've never seen this kind of drive at New Hampshire before. Marty.
And Jeff, I thought Rick brought up a great point earlier. I think the 42 team certainly feels like they do have a little something to prove. Chad Johnson sat down for 3 races, and they had the infraction last week where they couldn't make it through qualifying inspection in Kentucky. Then this week, the post-qualifying infraction after they qualified on the pole. They don't want the theme to be, hey, listen, you're winning and you're running up front because you're cheating or you're doing something wrong. They said that had nothing to do with why we have so much speed in the car. So, yes, I think, Steve, you've been in these positions before. You certainly want to prove a point that, hey, whatever infractions we may have had, that had nothing to do with the speed of the wins we've had so far this year.
You're absolutely right, Marty, but the point I want to see is can they execute? Because they had this much speed last week at Kentucky. They showed us how they could do this, but then on a pit stop, they sped on pit road. They didn't execute. They continued to kind of fumble the ball and go to the back of the field. They have to clean that up. He said at Kentucky it was much harder the second time. I think he would have the same issue here today. He needs to try to keep this track position he's worked for.
While I believe it is amazing that Kyle Larson is currently 10th and he's passed 29 cars more or less to get up to the 10th position. There's a good battle for 5th on the left side of your screen. But Martin Truex Jr. in the same 30 laps has put 6 seconds between himself and the second place car of Matt Kenseth. This guy has continued to be incredible this year.
And Rick, that's why I was so disappointed when the 42 lost their starting position, because I wanted to see these two line up next to each other. Every single week, it just seems like a battle between the 78 and the 42. Whether it's practice, qualifying, or the race, they are setting the pace for the field. I was excited to see them line up next to one another. Looks to me, though, that the 42 might get up there and race them still.
And again, there'll be a competition caution on lap 35, which is coming up here. Take a look at the laps led at New Hampshire. 96% of the laps, the last 2 races last year, were led by Toyotas. And once again, the top 3 are Toyotas. Ken Larson in his Chevrolet, or maybe Jamie McMurray, who's up there in 4th. Can they get up there and compete against the Toyotas?
Well, listen, you're kind of taking a poll this week with crew chiefs, drivers. You know, how do you feel your car is? How do you think you can run? We had several people say to us, well, we're not driving a Toyota.
The competition caution has come out.
So the general consensus in the garage with the Toyotas had the most speed this weekend. So we could see that continue. Now, Kyle Larson, he's showing that he can play, that he has speed to maybe take that win from Toyota.
You can catch all the action of NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. You can get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information. And now the strategy call. Do you come to pit road? This is a competition caution. They don't have to come to pit road if they don't want to. They have enough fuel if they want to go to the end of stage 1. Do you give up track position and maybe gamble now as you're a little bit over halfway through the stage?
Well, as Jeff said about this at the top of the show, the surface is really the question. You know, it's like he mentioned, like snow on a football field. There's a lot of unknowns. So these crew chiefs, are they going to go with old notes that say, you know, tires don't seem to mean a whole lot, track position does, or are they going to go with new notes? What we've seen in the Xfinity race yesterday was that tires did matter and the leaders drove back up through the field. I think staying out is too big of a gamble. I expect to see everyone on pit road. The safest bet, 2 tires, try to keep some track position, but we'll have to see what the 78 does, whether he feels he has to have 4 tires.
Pit road is open. We'll find out right here. Lead lap cars are able to come to pit road first, and a long line following after the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. heading to pit road under this competition caution. Marty.
Rick, Kyle Busch, top of your screen, runs 3rd. Coming to pit road, the call, the code, trash out. Kyle wants a fresh water inside the race car. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires here with a little caution out. All these cars, Dave, could make it to the end of stage 2 here.
Matt Kenseth didn't have a lot. He could tell his crew chief to make the car better, so he said, I'd just put 4 on it and move on. They will do that for the 20 car, as well as for race leader and dominator so far, Martin Truex Jr. 4 Goodyear tires, a fill of Sunoco fuel, and out of here.
And the race off pit road brought to you by Kroger Click List. No spots moved for the top 4. Couple for Kyle Larson on pit road.
Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I have found a great view here atop the Ferris wheel in Toyota. And Rick, this restart is going to be another one to watch, that front line, isn't it?
Is it bad that I paid the operator to leave you up there for a while? I hope not. We get ready for the restart as they come into the restart zone, the Geico restart zone. On the outside, Martin Truex Jr. Matt Kenseth on the inside. They fan out once again behind him. Jamie McMurray using that higher line, trying to take second away from the 20 of Kenseth.
Talked about execution with the 42. Oh, as the
up into the wall. Eric Jones into the wall in turn 3. And that will bring a caution out. The second one of the day. This one early. You see the left front tire is blown. And a little bit of damage there.
Heavy impact. Such a disappointing end of their day. You and I both, Steve, talked about they had good speed in practice. They were running well inside the top 10.
They had some contact on pit road leaving the pits.
When we talk about short tracks, and while New Hampshire's a mile, they don't consider it short track. It's very tight conditions, especially on pit road. You see the 77 leaving here, tries to get 3 wide. Man, gets sandwiched between the 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 5 of Casey Kane. Kind of banged. Both front tires actually left a donut on the right side of the 5 car.
Remember, the exhaust on the right side of the car potentially hit that left front tire.
Oh, yeah, you can just see the left front was down. You saw it shaking and moving. Just nothing he could do. Got the brakes locked up. Hard impact. Kelly.
Yeah, the team obviously saw that contact on pit road, and they were trying to look at that left side for any damage. They thought he was okay, so they obviously kept him out there. But a disappointing end for a team that's potentially could get into the playoffs based on points alone. Obviously, they want to win, but this day's done.
21-year-old Eric Jones of Byron, Michigan, out of this race early after 42 laps. Welcome back to Monster Energy Cup Series racing from New Hampshire. If you want breaking news, race highlights, updated standings, and more delivered to your inbox every week, never miss a story or race highlight by subscribing to the official NASCAR newsletter. Visit NASCAR.com/newsletter to sign up today. Last restart, fairly tame. Martin Truex Jr. and Jamie McMurray. Matt Kenseth was on the outside of, or on the inside of Martin Truex Jr. Martin chose the inside or the outside line this last start as we ride along with the 37.
Well, this is a great shot from the helmet cam, the visor cam of Chris Buescher, and we talk about all the information these drivers need. Well, here's a very simple one. There's a sticker on that bar right there by the A-post. You see the car numbers on there, and everybody wants to know what those car numbers are. That's basically the layout of pit road. So as Chris Buescher comes down pit road, he knows what cars are pitting around him, what cars he needs to look for, maybe even what pit signs might catch his eye. We see a lot of drivers miss their pit stall, get in accidents on pit road. That's a nice, small little reminder to Chris Buescher over on the left, Jess, as he's looking for his pit stall. So as he's looking left right here, he kind of references what cars he's looking for, because you can see, you think it would be easy to find your pit stall. It's kind of like, you know, driving in the city at night with the windshield wipers going in the rain. You know, there's so much going on, you have a hard time finding where you're supposed to stop.
Yeah, little notes like that are so helpful to the driver, not only just in finding your pit box, but also in helping your pit road speed. Because when you know a guy in front of you where he's going to pit, that helps you set up if you're going to try to go around him or not.
Dr. B, Blake, the RX guy, actually was asking that question, is what those numbers were. We saw that on social media. Thanks for chiming in and looking at those as we get ready for the restart. We're going to have a different perspective here. We're going to give you a 2-box. One of them will be what the 37 sees, Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher back in 26th right now. That's the perspective that he has. Battle for third heating up on the right side of your screen. Jamie McMurray and Matt Kenseth. A little bit of momentum for McMurray, trying to make that work as he tries to clear the 20 of Matt Kenseth. He will. And now will they use different lines again? Here comes the 42 of Kyle Larson. Throwing the nose in there and no contact with Matt Kenseth. But Larson running that low line, trying to get by the 20 of Kenseth. From the infield care center, Eric Jones was checked and released.
See, Matt Kenseth moved up into that middle groove where there is no VHT material. We're starting to hear a few drivers talk about that material starting to wear off the racetrack. So you saw Matt Kenseth jump up into that area where there was no treatment. Has his right side's in it now, left side's now all 4 tires in it. Now, as fast as you are, Kyle Larson, there's nowhere to go. They're too wide.
You've got 2 cars in front of you. Where do you decide to go on this racetrack? Let's go down to the infield care center and Kelly, who's with Eric.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing end to this one, Eric. We saw that contact with the 5. Did you have any indication of a tire rub or anything?
Yeah, disappointing day for sure, you know. Just had a good car to fire off, and it's unfortunate. I would make a little bit of contact with the 5 and the 11 on pit road, but you know, we didn't have any marks on the tires or the race car, so we thought we were okay. And then unfortunately we had a right front or left front, I'm not really sure, go down into 3 and ended our day. It's just unfortunate. It's going to be really tough to make the playoffs now. We were really working hard to get ourselves in contention. Didn't need a day like this, so let's have to keep working hard with the 5-hour energy car. Hopefully have a shot here over the next few races.
Thank you, Eric.
That's a really big blow to Eric Jones and his team because of when they had their problem. And think about it, they don't have a chance to get stage points. They don't have a chance, they're going to have a terrible finish. No stage points. So when you have a problem early with this point system where you're awarded for the stages and how you finish after stage 1 and stage 2 and at the finish of the race, an early race problem is a big, big problem in regard to points.
End of this stage, just 23 laps away from the end of stage 1. We mentioned at the top of the show, this is only a 301-mile race. This is a very quick race here. So we're seeing Kyle Larson. He continues to make the moves to get up to the front. Kyle Larson already up to 3rd. He understands the urgency in which he has to get to the front. Truex Jr. out in front. Kyle Busch running 2nd, and Larson now in 3rd.
And how about Casey Kane right behind this battle? Casey Kane needing a good finish, needing a good run. Keep hearing rumors about him maybe not coming back. He's stated publicly that he knows he can still drive race cars, wants to drive race cars. I don't believe Casey Kane's forgotten how to drive, but he has to start showing some results.
Yeah, but at some point, Jeff, the news of, as we see his teammate Chase Elliott get to the inside of the 5 of Casey Kane, the news of Matt Kenseth losing his ride, not having a ride back at Joe Gibbs, a veteran driver. Denny Hamlin, he's going to take it 3 wide down the front stretch, get 2 for 1 right here. That's a wise move by a veteran driver. You know, that pressure of veteran drivers like Matt Kenseth looking for rides has got to come and really start to build for this driver of the 5.
Yeah, I bet the Chevy in-car shot being able to show the 2 different distinct grooves. See both the 11 car and the 24. They both try this outside lane, trying to get all 4 tires in, and then they turn and exit very low, getting the 4 tires on that VHT on corner exit.
The sticky stuff.
The sticky stuff, as Rick likes to call it. I don't know what you call it. I just know it's grip. It's clear that the drivers are still running in it. There's been talk about it wearing off, but the drivers are exceptionally good at finding where the grip is, and you can see that they're using it. Dave.
A lot of people wondering where the 2 car went. That's Braxton Brand and the jack man for Brad Keselowski. He had a frustrating first stop. The jack wouldn't work for him when he went around to the right side. And when he came around to the left side, it wouldn't work either. I talked to Braxton for a minute. He said it was a brand new jack too. Still trying to figure out what went wrong with it, but they've changed back to the old one. Here he is trying to see what exactly happened with this brand new jack to put my driver back to 22nd and now working his way back through the field.
Pit stops are always so important, Rick. Well, now pit equipment, it's no longer just off-the-shelf equipment. These teams aren't buying that equipment. They're either building it in-house or have companies outside of the race shop building custom equipment to try to create these 10 and 11-second pit stops.
Here we take a look. You see the jack handle bouncing back and forth. That's normal. But when the jack drops down low enough that they can't get the tire on, so he needs it jacked back up again.
It looked like it just slowly went down. It didn't just fall. It just slowly lost height.
So unfortunate. But as you mentioned, Steve, they're trying to have a pit stop in 12 seconds. And when you have a jack failure, it's not going to work. Truex Jr. out front. Out in front, Martin Truex Jr. has a 1.7-second lead over Kyle Busch. Matt Kenseth has made his way by Kyle Larson up to 3rd, Larson back to 4th, and Kevin Harvick in 5th. But there's a big move by Casey Kane. He's trying to hang on to that spot. Casey Kane going by Ryan Blaney. Kane up to 9th, Blaney in 10th.
And Rick, you know, Jeff, you mentioned that Casey Kane in this 5 car is looking for something good to happen. Currently in the longest winless streak of his career, just over 100 races. And this is kind of what we've seen. They can start strong or have periods of the race that are strong, but they're either not keeping up with the racetrack or just not making the best pit decisions, because as it seems like as the race continues, the 5 kind of trickles back towards about mid-pack.
Right side of the screen, we're seeing the battle for 14th, 48 of Jimmy Johnson and teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. running just behind him in the 15th position. We were listening in to the 48 radio just moments ago.
78, the 42 have got everybody covered. 78 just with everybody out there right now are in the pace that he is. 42 is passing cars just going wherever they are not. He is passing all the way up to 10th already, so I know we can get up there pretty quick ourselves. 10-4.
And that's Cole Witt.
Stay on the apron if you can see. Keep rolling.
Smoke rolling out from underneath the
right
72.
To the garage, Brad. Straight to the garage.
And amazingly 8 laps away from the end of stage 1, Jeff.
Yeah, this will tax some crew chiefs' decisions. Do you want to stay on the racetrack to get your stage points, or do you want to pit here and try to set yourself up for the end of the second stage? So some difficult decisions for crew chiefs to make. See Cole Witt, obviously in some sort of a engine problem. Smoke coming out of both sides and the back. That's never a good sign.
Entering turn 1, so they're going to want to make sure they check out the track there to see if any fluid was put down.
Yeah, pit road's open, and we see Kyle Busch surprisingly pit from the, up in the top 3, which I would have thought he would have stayed out to try to get some stage points, but he must have thought he needed tires. Kelly?
Denny Hamlin following the move of the 18 and Kyle Busch. The call was for 4 tires. Denny Hamlin saying he was definitely better on this run. He's better the longer he stays out on the racetrack. 4 Goodyears in fuel for the 11, Marty.
Yeah, Kelly, I think the 18 thinking more about the win than stage points right now. 4 Goodyear tires said he was way too free on entry. Also 4 Goodyear tires for Kevin Harvick leaving pit road as well. All these guys with fresh rubber, and we'll see how this shake things up, Dave.
4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Brad Keselowski, and a chance for his jack man to try out that jack. This time, the old one worked true. Rick?
Thanks, Dave. We'll be back for the restart right after this. The best golfers in the world tee it up at Royal Birkdale. Battle the weather, the hills, and the pot bunkers. The Open. Live first-round coverage begins Thursday, 1:30 a.m. Eastern on the Golf Channel. Also streamed live with the Golf Channel app.
What we see right here, Rick, as we ride along with Ryan Newman with the Coca-Cola inboard, you see the big dust cloud to the left. There's a lot of oil put down by Cole Witt, NASCAR, and the track trying to do the best they can, but with only about 5 laps to go to the end of this stage, this is going to create a very short run to the finish.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. and his team, they're crying right now. The track's horrible. Yeah. They don't want this thing to go back green. They want to just ride their way to this stage win.
Again, you're watching Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series racing. The Overton's 301. And it's been all Martin Truex Jr. out front. Only one person has led laps here. That sounds amazing. I don't know if that's ever happened before, where one person has led every lap of a race.
Well, nobody would stink up a show like that.
No one would be able to do that.
Oh,
where
wait.
they would lead every lap. No. Or maybe the guy sitting next to us who's very, very silent. Who has
He's better than me, Rick, because if I was the driver that led every lap, I would scream from the rooftops.
You'd wear a T-shirt.
Absolutely.
That said, by the way, I led every lap at this racetrack.
I would.
That seems like a long time ago. Listen, here's one thing I love the call with Kyle Busch. I love that call that Kyle Busch and his team made. Adam Stevens, his crew chief, saying to heck with points, to heck with stage points. We're a good deal with points. If we're going to have to use points to get ourselves into the playoffs, we're in pretty good shape. I like this call because it's setting them up when this stage ends to stay out and possibly get the lead of the race with good tires. Sometimes in my world, the stage points are important, but what's most important is track position at the right time. And making that decision, giving up the potential, giving up those stage points, I think was a great decision to get them what they really, really need, and that's a win.
NASCAR is letting us know that they are going to give them the 1 to go sign this time by, and we've got a special guest that's standing by with Rutledge Wood.
Rick, out here on the back stretch on Motorhome Hill, you will find tons and tons of people camping, but there is one special boy out here, 7-year-old Zachary Macedo. You see him back here. He is the unofficial flag man for the backstretch. Every time there's a caution, if a car needs to get by, he's holding up the pass flag. He is amazing out here. He comes from Leicester, Mass. He and his mom are out here every single year. 7 years old. This is the future of NASCAR officiating right here. You can see right now he's holding up the 1 to go. This guy, I'm telling you what, he is the heart and soul of this crowd here on the backstretch, guys. Amazing.
He is doing exactly what the flagman on the other side of the track is doing. Flagman just showed them 1 to go. They're coming to the green now, though, so we know that he will be switching from that yellow flag to a green flag in his hand. As they go 2 by 2 once again, it will be Martin Truex Jr. on the outside and Matt Kenseth on the inside. Apparently, Jimmy Johnson, his favorite driver, is going to restart 17th.
I was going to tell him that, Rick, that he could become the official flag man, but he's probably going to have to lose the T-shirt if he's going to become an official.
Here they come out of turn 4. There will only be 2 laps to go to the end of the stage. Another great restart for Martin Truex Jr. Side by side for 3rd. Kyle Larson trying to take it away from his teammate Jamie McMurray. 1 more lap in stage 1. A week ago in Kentucky, Martin Truex Jr. won the 2 stages and won the race. They made the statement, We want to make a statement that it's not just mile-and-a-half racetracks that we can win on. We can win on mile tracks. And coming out of turn 4, Martin Truex Jr. is going to win stage number 1 from New Hampshire.
And for the 14th time this season, stage winner, MTJ.
Once again, Martin Truex Jr., a stage winner, the 14th stage win for the 78 team already this year. Welcome back. Monster Energy Series racing from New Hampshire. The team's all up on the wall, expecting their cars in front of them momentarily. Marty.
Rick, remember pre-race Kyle Larson told us he was going to go from 39th to the top 5 by the end of this first stage. Well, he went to 3rd, all the way from 39th. They're going to make a right side wedge adjustment. He said, tight center off. That's what's hurting me the most, Dave.
Matt Kenseth in second place there in the 20. He said the overall balance is good, but I could use some more overall grip. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires and a Phillips Sunoco fuel. Martin Truex Jr. as well will take on 4. He knows he may not lead every lap, and he might even get beat up pit road there, Rick.
Race off the pit road very tight, brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2. He holds his position. Chase Elliott made up a couple spots on pit road. Cars have been brought onto pit road, and it looks as though it could go to a red flag condition. And the reason for this, there is a hole that is in between turns 3 and 4 that the track is working on. They actually sealed it, or tried to seal it, yesterday, and it looks as though some things are coming up on the track now, so they're going to try to go to work on that and get that fixed.
Yeah, the racetracks are prepared for these types of events. There's an epoxy they can put in this hole, and it will fill that hole up, and it dries it very, very quickly. So the tracks are always prepared if the track comes up, if things happen. So that's an attempt right now to get this hole cleaned up, and then they'll come in and put epoxy in it to fill that hole.
We've seen this before at Martinsville. I know a big piece of the concrete came out of Martinsville, hit the front of Jeff Gordon's car. It's happened before, so this isn't something new that a track does wear, especially up here in the north where you've got the difference of temperatures. The fact if you got a crack and you get moisture in there and it freezes, you're going to have different things like this happen.
Well, this is an old surface. This track was last repaved in 2002, so you think about 15 years of a lot of races, a lot of different types of races. I mean, just here this weekend, there's been a stack of races between NASCAR, the modifieds, K&N, where they also had a race. So, as you mentioned, this is just one of those unfortunate things. I mean, you love to see great racing, but they do a lot of damage to asphalt. They have a lot of grip, and you see here, they tore a chunk basically out of it.
We've seen this at Dover.
Yeah.
We've seen this at Daytona. So things that have happened in the past. So at Dover, big chunk sitting on the racetrack, big piece of concrete. Jamie McMurray actually hit it. 2014. Big damage to Jamie McMurray's car, and that's why they need to fix it. This is a situation that could hamper someone's day, could take a good race car and of no fault of their own, tear it up. So when they see this, they need to stop the race and fix it. It would be an unfair disadvantage to someone. And also there's a safety issue. You don't want pieces of asphalt or concrete on the racetrack.
So they're going to work on that right now, and they have brought the cars onto pit road in a red flag condition. So a little bit of a break here at the end of stage 1.
Like a dentist for a racetrack, Rick.
Is that a filling?
It's a big filling. It's a big filling.
They're like a filling or root canal?
I think it's a filling.
Okay.
I've never had a root canal, though, so maybe it's the same. Want to look at the Ford stage results as we have a few moments here. Martin Truex Jr. continuing to dominate stage racing in the Monster Energy Series.
Rick, the big winner, Kyle Busch, he was running second before the end of that stage, pitted, and still came back and finished where he finished. He only gave up 3 stage points to get 4 tires and the lead. So in my world, as I said before, I love that call. Taking that, getting those tires, giving up 3 stage points to get the lead. gutsy call, the right call.
Well, the other big winner, Matt Kenseth. You see those 9 points earned. Remember, Matt Kenseth is right there on the cut line racing Joey Logano. Only 14 points where they currently sit above the cut line. So being aggressive with that pit call, staying on the racetrack, gaining those points, that could be the difference that gets Matt Kenseth into the playoffs.
One of the other things you have to think about is what Cole Pern has been able to do with the 78 team this year with qualifying. Because of the fact that they've been able to qualify close to the front, you look at the most stage wins. Martin Truex Jr. has 14 stage wins compared to the second most, by the way, is Joe Gibbs Racing, the entire organization. They have 6 more stage wins. Martin Truex Jr. has 6 more stage wins. So I think what Cole Pern has been able to do, not only with qualifying, but obviously putting together a race car that can run up front week in and week out and stage after stage, very impressive. Let's see if we can talk with him.
Let's try to check in. Hey, Cole, this is Steve Letarte up in the booth. You got a second?
Yeah, I got you, Steve.
Well, first, let me congratulate you on another stage win and another very fast race car. But I know that caution right before the end of the stage had to be stressful. You didn't want to see that. How much of a decision did you have to make between going after the playoff point versus coming to get 4 tires at that point?
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to see that, but it is what it is. I think for the position we were in, we had to go on and try and get the playoff point. You know, I think those guys that did pit, you know, a little bit further back was definitely a good call for them, but I just don't see how you can give up those bonus points at this point.
Well, the track has been the topic of conversation really all weekend long, and we keep hearing about how it's changing, yet the 78, your car continues to lead laps. Has your car changed much? Have you had to work on it here early in the race?
Not yet, but, you know, we've had a good track position the whole time. It'll definitely be a little bit different here restarting as far back as we are, so, you know, I'm sure he'll be fine. I know it'll be difficult getting back through there, but hopefully he can keep the fenders clear and, you know, make it back through there in good time.
Well, Cole, thanks for taking the time. I know the fans appreciate to hear from competitors in the middle of the race, especially during this break. So thanks for taking the time, and good luck the rest of the day.
Thanks, Steve.
And the scoring right now has Martin Truex Jr. back in 24th, so he'll have his work cut out for him, trying to keep those fenders clean. As we just heard from Cole Pern, we know this is a team sport, and NBC likes to shine a spotlight on some of the other stars of the sport in our pit crew all-stars, Steve.
Oh, absolutely, Rick. The drivers and the crew chiefs get a lot of the focus, but it takes a team to get these cars to the racetrack, be competitive. We like to focus on those team members. This week, we're going to talk to Landon Walker, who's actually the gas man. You see right there, the big guy, the gas man for the 5 of Casey Kane, Ryan Flores on the 21 Cup car, Alan Steele on the 37 Cup car, and we spoke to Caitlin yesterday on the 48 Xfinity car, and I hear you caught up with Landon there, Kelly.
Yeah, and I know this will come as a shock. He was an offensive lineman, played at Clemson, was drafted by the Bengals. Landon, congratulations. What does it mean to be recognized in this way?
It's a great honor, you know. I just to be able to recognize for what you do and come to a sport like this and get a little bit of recognition for where you come from. It's a great honor. I'm just happy to be, you know, an all-star for this weekend.
Well, tell me about the parallels between playing football and coming onto the NASCAR side of things.
They're both team sports, you know. You got to be a team aspect. You know, you got to be able to work together. The sport is, you got to be able to consistently be able to do your job, just like in football where I come from. You know, everything matters. You know, every little play matters. One guy messes up, it really can affect the whole pit stop, can affect the whole play in football. Translates, you know, right across the board. So you just got to be able to show up and do your job the best you can every weekend. And I think we do a good job of working as a team here.
All right, well, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
And Rick, those gas cans can be up to 100 pounds. You see right there those Sunoco gas cans. Landon there, he makes them look relatively weightless. That is a strong individual.
Let's listen into the 20 radio.
Got to try to win the stage, too. Yeah. I mean, we did what we had to do there. I mean, it put us behind. Just have to be smart and figure out how to get back up there. We got a good car. I think you're going to pass quite a few of them. There's a lot of passing going on behind you. So the way the racetrack is right now, seems like you can do good, you know, up top and down below. So we'll get about.
That is the debate right there, is do we pit or do we not pit? In this case, they decided to pit. So here's the way it all happened. So as always, a caution comes out right before a stage end. 72 car cold whip blowing an engine. Now Martin Truex Jr., the leader, he has a decision to make. Am I going to pit or am I going to stay out? They decide to stay on the racetrack. Kyle Busch Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, these guys pit. Now the stage in comes Martin Truex Jr., the winner, but all those people that stayed out, now they're coming on pit road. Look to your left. All the guys that pitted earlier, they stay on the racetrack. The 18 of Kyle Busch, 21 of Blaney, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, they all stayed out. They're now leading the race.
2x2 once again. Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson as the field approaches the Geico restart zone. As we heard Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief for the 20 of Matt Kenseth, mention the high line's working, the low line's working, a lot of passing going on behind you. So the 20 will have to take advantage of that as Ryan Blaney gets a little bit loose trying to go to the bottom of the racetrack. Out in front, though, it's Kyle Busch. Once again, winless in 2017, and it's been almost a year since he was at Victory Lane.
See the 48 of Jimmy Johnson battling with the 4 of Kevin Harvick. A good recovery from the 48. Remember, they had that start violation to start the race, gave up all of their track position. They're battled back into the top 5.
I talked to Kevin Harvick this morning. He said they changed about everything on that race car. They were not good enough, they felt like, so they made major changes going into today's race.
Jimmy Johnson was looking to the inside of the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Chevrolet on board, looking out the window of the 24 of Chase Elliott, from the roof actually of the 24 of Chase Elliott. He tries the middle line.
Well, that gets tight on the exit of 2.
And there's Matt Kenseth moving to the inside, trying to get by the 32 of Matt DiBenedetto. So the 95 of Michael McDowell just in front, and here comes the 42 of Kyle Larson once again.
You got stage points, but now you're in the middle of all this, and you see how difficult it is. Also, there's more danger back here. It's easier to get into a wreck.
2 of Brad Keselowski running 10th. Just in front of him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. made the announcement this will be his final full-time season in the Monster Energy Cup Series.
And here we see a battle between Joey Logano and Clint Bowyer, 2 drivers that are getting to the point where they have got to have good runs. While Clint Bowyer is currently in the playoffs, he's barely in. Joey Logano's barely out. So these are 2 drivers at tracks that they have found success at. They'd like to get back to victory lane. As you see the 78 of Martin Truex trying to battle that traffic, Rick.
Truex Jr. up to 17th. He restarted 24th. Blaney in front of Hamlin. And a spin in turn 4. That's the 3. Very close call there for Austin Dillon.
It happened right in front of the 78 of Martin Truex Jr.
That's what we talked about. That's one of the dangers of getting back in that pack. Lucky this was only a 1-car incident.
And a restart will be coming once again.
Fine, you were just coming left, and I was still out there.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he said, was coming left. He was still out there.
Yeah, I think that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. may have thought that the 3 of Austin Dillon was going to turn left and leave on the bottom in that material that we've been talking about where that traction is, and Austin had that middle spot filled up. Austin did nothing wrong. He was in the lane he wanted to be in.
How about A.J. Allmendinger in the 47 sliding by underneath?
Oh, look at this shot. Oh, he's spinning. He's spinning.
Spinning. Stay up. Stay up. Stay up. Come on. Come on. No caution. Caution is out. Nice job.
Sideways right in front of him. A.J. Allmendinger just squeezes by on the inside.
Great job.
Kenseth able to avoid it as well.
It's amazing how those drivers just remain calm. You know, just, it's good. I got it. You know, it really is amazing when you watch drivers respond to something like that and the moves they make. It split-second decisions. Not much time to think. It's more of a response than a thinking process.
So Austin Dillon had a little slide there. So we'll see if he makes his way onto pit road. And who else will decide to come to pit road now with 61 laps to go in the second stage. Not a a lot of takers. The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was involved in that contact, will duck onto pit road. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. Kyle Busch has chosen the outside line. Ryan Blaney will be on the inside for the restart. They once again approach the Geico restart zone. Great restart for Kyle Busch. He dives all the way to the bottom of the track and brought Kevin Harvick along with him. Harvick up to second now. The question I posed earlier, can anyone battle the Toyotas as far as leading at New Hampshire? So far, the Toyotas have been out front every lap. But now there are 3 Fords lined up in Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, and Ryan Blaney. Second, third, and fourth. Here comes Denny Hamlin as well. Hamlin just behind the 41 of Kurt Busch. Hamlin looked as though he was thinking about making it 3 wide as they exited turn 4.
And let it change his mind. That wasn't going to work very well. 3 wide that late on the corner exit. The other drivers would have no way of knowing they were 3 wide, and that would have turned ugly.
Riding along on the Ford Performance on board, Joey Logano.
You see right there the 78, Mark Truex Jr. trying to recover from that decision to try to get that playoff point. He's working inside the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in the 9th position. Just kind of have seemed to have been an average weekend for the 88 so far.
Marty.
Been a bit of a struggle for that 88 team. They were among those group, though, that pitted at lap 68, stayed out under that last caution. And for Junior, it's been an eventful day. In fact, he said he was so tight, he maxed out the track bar, couldn't loosen up the car anymore. And then the water temperature at one point was 280, so they pulled some tape off this last time. Now he's up in the top 10, trying to hold on to that top 10 spot, making a nice run there on Ryan Blaney.
Jimmy Johnson, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez in the 19 trying to make that low line work. Left side tires below the yellow line. Kelly.
Jimmy Johnson's done a nice job recovering from his early penalty, but now he's got a new challenge on his hand. They're having radio issues. Take a listen.
So there's definitely something getting ready to fail. I went to the other radio, and now you can hear me on radio 1. The button wasn't working. Touching the roof is tight. Touching the door is loose. If you hear me, I'll ask you what you want me to do or what you have going on, and then you just answer with that way, okay? 10-4, tight is up, down is loose.
So you're here, they might have to resort to using hand signals during that last caution, though Jimmy was able to give some feedback to Chad, so we'll keep an eye out for those hand signals to be put into play.
Yeah, that's kind of a standard backup. If you lose your radio, you have a hand signal. You put your hand out the window and tap the roof or tap the door. The problem with that is not detailed information as we're 3 wide into 1.
Here comes the 42, Kyle Larson, moving to the inside of Danica Patrick in the 10. Kyle Larson
out of the groove. Sorry, Rick Keselowski moved way out of the groove. Allowed Matt Kenseth to drive underneath him.
Larson making the low line work here at New Hampshire.
I'll just restart. Daniel Suarez with Brad Keselowski right behind him. Daniel sees Brad coming. He turns left to keep that advance from coming. Brad runs into the back of him. This is something we're going to see as this race moves along. We're going to see these restarts become more and more aggressive. If Daniel doesn't make that block, he's 3 wide in the middle groove, and we've seen the middle be no good right now. So he had to make that block in order to hold his position.
Hey guys, a lot of conversation on the 42 radio right now. We don't see smoke right here, but he has made contact with someone at some point. They talked about left side tire rub for the 42 car of Kyle Larson. We'll keep an eye on it. But Jeff, we talked about that, right? That's a disadvantage of being back in all that traffic.
That is the big disadvantage. It's much more hectic back there. It's so much easier to get side by side, door to door, rub fenders. We've already seen one incident today with cars rubbing fenders, cutting a tire. That is a negative to losing track position.
Want to listen into the radio communication to that team?
Yeah, I don't know if he hit the apron too hard on that restart or something and rubbed up against the left rear fender or what, but the yellow's gone on the Goodyear, but I haven't seen it smoke since I saw it heavy that one time down the front.
Because of the real lack of banking at a racetrack like this, if you run on the apron, is there a possibility that the body and the rear end shift a little bit to where he could have rubbed the letters off of that left side?
Yeah, I wouldn't think that hitting the apron would do it. I would have thought you would have had to make contact with another race car, but obviously they didn't think they did. They talked about running across the apron. When he's talking about that yellow Goodyear lettering, that's kind of a, you know, at these speeds, the sidewall, the whole sidewall of the tire kind of looks yellow from pit road. So as that starts to turn dark, turn black, you would assume you've made contact. You just hope that it doesn't continue.
And the sidewall definitely something that you don't want to have wear out. It's a little easier, more susceptible to having a tire go down. We saw it earlier when Eric Jones had a cut tire, left front tire cut.
Well, the other problem, Rick, at this 1 mile reasonably small short track, they don't run interliners. So when you have a flat tire, it goes all the way down onto the splitter, onto the frame rails. So it does a lot of damage.
Joey Logano currently in the 6th spot. And Logano, another driver, looking for a win in 2017 that is eligible for the playoffs. He had a win earlier, but it was encumbered. And so he is currently 17th in the point standings and trying to battle into the top 16 so that he can be a part of the playoffs. But wins cure all things. And if he's able to get to victory lane, that would give him a spot in the playoffs. Ryan Blaney tucked in behind Joey Logano. Blaney, just a 23-year-old out of High Point, North Carolina, driving for Wood Brothers. So much history with that team, and a young driver showing great promise. We want to have a few updates from pit road. Let's go to Marty.
And Rick, let's check in on the Stewart-Haas racing cars. All of them in the top 15 currently right now. Danica Patrick back in the 15th spot, but up front, Kevin Harvick is in the 2nd position, and Harvick loves this racetrack, but they've kind of struggled this weekend. It seems like as it's heated up here, Dave, this racetrack has come to Harvick. Car much better. They're among that group pitted on lap 68 and stayed out under that last caution.
Marty, Kurt Busch in the 41 car told his crew chief, I need the left rear of this car to work better, and they're operating on a little bit of luxury here. I was told they're using this as a test session for September in the playoffs. Kelly, Marty, back to you.
Yes, Dave, and I talked to Clint Boyer before the race. He said, you know, we look at New Hampshire as an opportunity race. This place where we've won before, and honestly, I haven't looked at an opportunity race since Daytona a couple of weeks ago. So Boyer and those guys think they should be very good this weekend. Right now in the 12th position, and Danica Patrick back there in the 15th spot right now. Her car starts loose at the beginning of a run, then gets a little bit tighter as they run along. Coming off a nice top 15 at Kentucky last week. Trying to get another one here today, Rick.
Top 15s, top 10s, top 5s. That's the way drivers are judged, their finishes. And right now, Kyle Larson being judged on his performance out front at New Hampshire. Welcome back to Monster Energy Cup Series racing from New Hampshire. Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Looking down on the 18 team right now, and that 18 of Kyle Busch out front. He has a 2.2-second lead over Kevin Harvick. Denny Hamlin has also been surging toward the front. He's up to 3rd now. Kurt Busch running 4th. Jimmy Johnson is 5th. There's Denny Hamlin chasing after Harvick. Martin Truex Jr. after winning stage 1, coming to pit road and losing all of the track position that he had built up, has now made his way back up into the top 10 and running 7th.
That's a great recovery with about 36 laps before the end of this stage. You know, I think, you know, we talked to Cole Pern at the break, and you know, I think he knew they weren't going to drive right back up to the top 2, the top 3, but he got that very important playoff point with that stage win. Just get up inside the top 6 or 7. Remember, that 3rd and final stage is the longest of the day at 151 laps, so that's a lot of time to get back up to the front to try to win the race.
Steve, we mentioned the playoff point. That is big, but at the same time, he got 10 points that go toward his total point total, which at the end of the season the regular season, if he is the point leader, which right now he is, he will get 15 more bonus points or playoff points that he'll be able to utilize. So those points very, very big for winning that stage.
Yeah, keep this in mind. Two teams did exactly the opposite on strategy, and it may work out exactly right for both of them because of the situations they were in. Remember, the 18, if this thing stays green, he'll probably win this stage because he didn't pit when Martin Truex did. Martin Truex won the first stage because he didn't pit when the 18 did. So two different teams, different strategies can work for both.
Let's go through the field, brought to you by Nationwide. Marty?
And Rick, that strategy working right now for Kyle Busch. Adam Stevens made that call to come to pit road at lap 68. They made a small wedge adjustment on the right side, tightened up the car a little bit for Kyle Busch. You know, he's come to New Hampshire before needing key wins. He needs one today, and right now they're in the right position. Right behind him, Kevin Harvick, and he said his car needs to roll the center a little bit better. But the best news for the 4 team, he radioed in a little while ago, said the goo is gone, meaning that traction substance they put on the racetrack. And that's good for Harvick because he feels like he's much better when it's off the racetrack, Kelly.
Denny Hamlin running third, and remember, he's doing it in a backup car after wrecking and qualifying. But his crew chief Mike Wheeler telling me that the whole program has gotten faster. He said we're showing more and more fast laps. We just don't have the clean air that often to show it, but when we're running alone, we can see that speed at speed we didn't have 3 months ago, Dave.
Drivers can adjust their race cars by the way they handle the steering wheel, but also with a little thing called a track bar adjuster. Kurt Busch has been working that to make his car turn a little bit better during this run, Kelly.
Jimmy Johnson running in the top 5. He only has 3 top 5 finishes this season. They were all wins. When I asked Chad Knaus where they need to improve, he said, look, we just don't have the speed of the 78 or 42 on a consistent basis, and we need to qualify better. We can't keep starting in a hole, digging our way out. Well, they started on the front row running in the top 5 today, Dave.
Kelly, I asked the crew chief of the 78, Cole Pern, is there any danger in all of the success you're having? He said, no, we're pretty level-headed around here. We just want more. It's fun. Winning is fun. We've had enough of the lows, Kelly.
Remember, Ryan Blaney got his first career cup win at Pocono earlier this year. Well, this week they hung up his picture on the wall of winners at the Wood Brothers Racing Shop. Ryan saying it was so special he's wanted to be on that wall since he first saw it back in 2015. The goal now to get the next win, which would be win number 100 for Wood Brothers Racing, Dave.
Joey Logano usually runs pretty well here, having a little bit of a struggle this weekend. That is the word that crew chief Todd Gordon used. During the race, however, they found a way to go back on an adjustment they made earlier. Joey's been happier and quieter on the radio. Behind him, you see the 20, the nose of the 20 right there of Matt Kenseth, who has been very strong this weekend, stuck in traffic right now. It feels like he said the nose is a little bit numb on this race car right now, Marty.
Dave, let's see. Stage 1 for Kyle Larson, 39th to 3rd. Stage 2 for Kyle Larson, 26th to 10th. And would you believe it if he told me earlier this week, this used to be one of my worst racetracks. I still struggle at this racetrack. I would say he's pretty good, but he said, you know, growing up, I didn't run anything like New Hampshire. So for me, this is one I had to really learn on and really had to get better at. Right behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who clearly has found a little bit of speed the last couple of laps, really picking up some lap times here and actually reeling in that 42 car of Kyle Larson. He said it's still tight on the throttle, middle of the corner off, and he doesn't have the drive off that he would like either, Dave.
Mexico's Daniel Suarez has been hot inside this race car. He told his crew that the throttle pedal is very hot during our red flag session. He also had heat on the motor. They removed some semi-ordinary tape from the front of the grill there to make it cooler. Rick?
And we saw the through the field graphic on the bottom of the screen. Suarez is about a half a lap right now behind Kyle Busch leading this race. Suarez back there 15 seconds behind Kyle Busch. Takes about 30 seconds to go around this track.
You heard Daniel Suarez talking about the floorboard and the gas pedal being hot. This racetrack is one of those racetracks, Steve, where the cars don't travel very much. Not many bumps, very little air getting underneath it. A lot of heat from the brakes, the transmission, the rear end. All that heat ends up being in that floorboard. Just burns the driver's feet up really badly. Here are the road courses, Martinsville, they're the worst.
Daniel Suarez had the opportunity to talk to him this weekend, and he said he wanted to get the process started on getting his green card here in the United States, the Monterrey, Mexico native, after winning the Xfinity Series a year ago. So he's having the time of his life, racing in NASCAR, living in the United States, lives in the Charlotte area, and just having a great time with this organization, with this team, and said he wants to vote, and that's why he can get his green card to do that. Side-by-side racing as Clint Boyer and Chase Elliott work side by side. utilizing that middle groove, able to get by the 24 at Chase Elliott. Second being battled on the left side of your screen, Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. They are 3.5 seconds behind Kyle Busch. .24 to go in stage 2. There's the gap. Kyle Busch 3.5 seconds in front of Harvick and Hamlin.
It's not the cars behind the 18 of Kyle Busch that I've been watching, Rick. It's the car in front of the 18 of Kyle Busch. That's the 5 of Casey Kane. Jeff, you mentioned earlier in the race he was running up inside the top 7 or 8, having a decent run. Between the pit cycle and just some restarts, something is amiss with this 5-car speed-wise. He's well off the pace. Back here running all the way back in the 31st position and looks to be very rapidly getting ready to go a lap down to the 18.
They have to have some sort of an issue because they were running well. They were running inside the, with really good cars, and now they've really struggled.
They made that light contact on pit road with Eric Jones that we documented, but that's just a little donut on the right side of the car. I can't imagine that would affect the handling.
Race leader Kyle Busch about to go by the 5 of Casey Kane to put him a lap down as the 42 of Kyle Larson makes the move on the 22 of Joey Logano. So Kyle Larson once again on the move, trying to get to the front, up in the top 9 now as we go NASCAR nonstop. This spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. And you saw all of that 3-wide racing from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I had to put a chair down for Steve Letarte. He was jumping all over the booth saying this is getting crazy out here.
Well, this racetrack, Rick, it's just so flat. The corners are long, sweeping, wide, flat corners with so little grip. So it slows the cars down in the middle of the corner to a speed where they're comfortable to kind of lean on each other, and they can push and shove and take away the different lines. And 3 wide, this track just isn't built for 3 wide, Rick.
But somehow they made it through. and got out on the other side. It's still Kyle Busch out front. He has a 3.5-second lead over Kevin Harvick. And then Denny Hamlin back in third. Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson are in the top 5. And Martin Truex Jr. now has caught up to the back bumper of Jimmy Johnson and fighting for that position.
Martin's car looks pretty loose to me. Saw him drive into turn 1 a bit ago, and the back end came around on him. He had to just stop the attack. He had nothing he could do other than just save the car. Really having a tough time.
Hamlin has got up to Harvick now, and right on the back bumper. We'll see if he's got anything for him for this second place.
That's an impressive move by the 11 to be able to turn down, but the 4 is not going to give him that wide exit, is he? He held the 11 on the bottom lane.
And 13 to go for the stage in. This position matters.
Well, Hamlin put the bumper to him. Harvick pinched the 11 down, and now Hamlin all over the back of the 4. Does he give a bumper to him? He's going to give him a little shove, then he goes to the outside.
Harvick saw that lap car on the outside, decided to take the bottom, trying to use it as a pick, but Denny Hamlin's got a big run on the outside. I think he'll clear Harvick and be able to move down in front of him.
Hamlin takes the spot away. Now we'll see if Harvick has anything for him. Try to come back on him.
And Rick, this is that time during the race. They've run 46 laps consecutively, 46-lap green flag run. In practice, you might run 15 or 20 laps. So this is uncharted territories for these drivers and these crew chiefs. You try to guess correctly on what your car needs to run this many laps in a row, but it truly is an educated guess.
And how about Kurt Busch there right behind his teammate Kevin Harvick? We mentioned in the pre-race that Kurt had not had a very good year since winning the Daytona 500. He has had success at this racetrack. Solid run so far today.
Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Daniel Suarez in the top 10 with just 11 laps to go now. Let's check in with Rutledge Wood.
Rick, I wanted to check in with some of the unsung heroes of the sport. So I'm up here on top of the spotter stand. There's actually 2 different ones, and I'm at the one closer to turn 1. I actually brought some of the track food up here, some fried lobster, the old meatball in the mountain, to try to help some of these guys out here. It's about 15 degrees warmer, if I can be honest, up here in the back of the sun than what these guys see. But obviously a great vantage point, and some of the hardest working folks in the garage hang up here every single weekend, guys.
I think you were standing next to TJ Majors, and if you offer him some food, he probably is going to take it.
Well, the concentration
He's
level.
enjoying a meatball now, Rick.
So.
The concentration level of the spotters, it's really impressive. You know, as a crew chief on top of the pit box, Jeff, you could, look down, calculate fuel mileage, perhaps climb off the pit box, look at the tires that came off the car. But the spotters, much like the driver, they have to be 100% focused all the time. You never know when an issue is going to arise, where maybe an accident or a blown engine with oil on the racetrack. You have to let your driver know, Jeff.
The other thing that, with the pit crews, the crew chiefs, you have these huge pit boxes. They all have sun cover. They all have a place to get out of the sun. The spotters, they're in the middle of it. They get out of nothing. It's hot, it's cold. They deal with all the weather. I'm not saying your job was easy, Steve.
That's what
but I believe that on top of that box, on top of that building, it's a little bit hotter on a hot day and a little colder on a cold day.
We have talked about the playoffs and the playoff picture and the 78 and his playoff points and the 48 winning the races. But, there is going to be a group of cars, Rick, that get in on points. And as that picture starts to clear up over the course of this, over the course of these final 8 races before the playoffs are decided, they're going to have to find some consistency. Look at this view from the spotter stand. You're going to see just how difficult it is. Right there off turn 2, the wall kind of takes away their view on the bottom of the racetrack. And then you see getting into turn 3 how far away they truly are when those drivers are expecting to be cleared by just a few inches.
Yeah, I always trusted my spotter until I quit racing and realized how much they can't see. Had I known then what I know now.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. had got right to the back bumper of the 48s, and he has not been able to move past, so he's currently stuck in the 6th spot. Dave.
Rick, from 13th on that restart after they took the 4 tires and went back in the pack, just radioed his crew, my tires are killed. There's so much friction when these drivers drive harder and try to work their way through traffic. Right now, Martin's used up pretty much all of what he has on those Goodyears.
That's a great point, Dave, because you know when you're Kyle Busch and you took the lead, you had a fast race car, you drive away a little bit, now you can maintain your pace. You don't have to push that car as hard. When you're trying to make that ground up, you can't take a break at all. You have to push every single lap, and that is without a doubt harder on tires.
I was talking about points, Rick, and trying to make it into the playoffs. Well, the car below the cut line, the 22 of Joe Logano, we talked about at the top of the show, coming back to the track where he got his first ever Cup win. He's a hometown kid from just down the road in Connecticut, looking for a good run, struggling mightily at the moment, all the way back in the 20th position. And what makes that worth is Kenseth, 16th in points, plus 20 over Logano. Well, Matt Kenseth is currently running in the 7th position. So while that doesn't seem spectacular, what that will do is in just 4 more laps, Rick, Matt Kenseth will receive some more points for finishing in the top 10 of the stage. Joey Logano will not. So he just continues to fall behind Matt Kenseth during this race.
And Steve, Joey radioed into his crew. He's so frustrated right now. He just said, I am so slow. And the biggest problem is right there where he enters the corner. The back end wants to come around on the 22 car, Marty.
And Dave, just 3 laps to go in this stage. Further up front, Clint Bowyer, and it's an absolute battle for those few points to get into a stage. Right now, Clint Bowyer in 10th. He will get points in this stage. They're above that cut line. I was talking to Mike Bugarabic, his crew chief, earlier this weekend, and he said, listen, I can't believe that we are 10th in the championship standings, and here we are on the bubble having to fight and claw for every point we can get. But you should have heard Brent Griffin on the radio, Steve, coaching Bowyer every lap. We got to get this. We got to get into the top 10. He just passed Daniel Suarez to be able to get up in that top 10. Points are critical.
Well, I like to hear that coaching, Rick, because I've been critical about this 14 and the animation on the radio. Clint Bowyer is very excitable. His spotter, his crew chief, all very excitable. And I thought one thing this 14 needed was a calm voice on the radio.
Well, 1 lap to go in this stage. You mentioned Joey Logano, but his teammate, Brad Keselowski, he's 18th. Joey Logano, 20th. So the speed does not appear to be there today for the Penske drivers.
Down the backstretch he goes. Kyle Busch, after trying a little strategy before the end of stage 1, came to pit road, then stayed out at the end of the stage. Now it has paid off as he comes out of turn number 4. Kyle Busch is going to win stage 2.
Roll out.
Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Denny Hamlin finishing 2nd in that stage. Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, all top 5 finish. Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Clint Bowyer, the top 10. Kyle Busch, still looking for that first win in 2017, has taken a step toward a possible checkered flag here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway today. He wins stage number 2.
Stage 2 is complete here at New Hampshire. Denny Hamlin finished 2nd in that stage. He said he fired off better. It was tight to start, then got snappy loose off as he raised the track bar. It's going to be a 4-tire stop and Sunoco fuel for the 11, Marty.
Kelly leader Kyle Busch stopped short in his box to give Kevin Harvick room to get into his pit stall. Busch said all 4 tires feel like hockey pucks, not turning at all, and no grip at the end of that run. Air pressure to help him out. Kevin Harvick already leading his stall. He said he had no turn in the center, right side wedge adjustment, and air pressure trying to free that car up for Kevin Harvick.
Race off pit road brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2. Denny Hamlin with a great stop will win the race off of pit road. Kevin Harvick also gaining a spot. 3 spots for Martin Truex Jr. coming off of pit road 3rd. Kyle Busch loses 3 spots, and he came off of pit road in 4th. Would like to talk with the stage 2 winner, Kyle Busch, brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2. Let's dial him up.
Hey, Kyle, it's Burton up in the NBCSN booth. You got a moment?
Sure. What's up?
Hey, man, I know you didn't have the pit stop you wanted to have right there, but the rest of the day's been really good. Won the race yesterday. Did you learn something about the track yesterday that you're using today?
A little bit. Just, you know, it's ever-changing. Kind of keeps moving around a little bit here with this substance on the track. So, car's been really good, though. We've had some really good speed all weekend. Adam and the boys have done a good job giving me a pretty decent Interstate Batteries Camry. So, we'd like to think that we can be the car to beat, and there's a couple that are right here around us that are pretty good, too.
Well, moving forward, what do you think is going to happen? You think the racetrack's going to work the middle groove, or the two grooves that were treated, they're going to still be the best?
I think it's almost back to the primary groove being the best groove here. It's pretty close to that. So I'm going to go to the front and pass the little field and lap them, put them a lap down, and I'm going to win this thing. How about that?
I love the attitude, bud. Good luck.
I'd say that's confidence. We look at his longest winless streaks, and the current one he is on is 34 races. The longest he's ever gone without winning a race is 35 races.
And listen, what a frustrating time for a driver. You're leading the race, right? You're leading the race. You come in, you have a pit stop, you come out fourth. You worked hard to get that track position. You gave it up, and now somebody wants to talk to you.
Well, the side skirt is flared out a little bit. They dropped the car on the right side, the jack, and so you see the little bit of damage there, but very unfortunate. And yes, he was frustrated, but I tell you what, that was great that he was able to chat with us.
Well, you see right there, the jack fell right there. Immediately when the car went up, it fell. But taking time to talk to us, what a, you know,
classy.
We're blessed to have drivers that are willing to do that. But then you heard him during the interview, he kind of refocused himself. Right. You could tell he was frustrated. You know, when we first started talking, you could feel and sense that frustration. But then the longer we spoke, it was like, hey, man, I'm going to go make this happen. And that's what you have to do as a race car driver. What happened, it's done. You can't change it. You just have to focus on what's ahead.
I think the transition that Kyle Busch made when he won the championship after breaking his foot and leg at Daytona to start off the season, missing 11 races, that hunger of wanting to get back behind the wheel of the car and get to victory lane was enough that he went on to win the championship that season. Want to listen in on spotter communication from the 37 car of Chris Buescher. This was the last restart.
Still there, still there. Still there, 43. Still there. 20 on you, inside your middle, middle. Still middle. Clear low. Outside. Outside your middle again, middle, 42 inside. Clear low, still outside.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. A lot of cars still on the lead lap, Steve.
Rick, that's what we were looking at. With 145 to go, we're in the final stage. We've seen some pit strategy options, some mistakes on pit road. With only 145 to go and still 29 cars on the lead lap, any mistake now would ruin the chances of winning.
Up through the gears again. Denny Hamlin trying to hang on to the lead. Kevin Harvick on the inside, though, trying to take it away. Down the backstretch they go. Martin Truex Jr. is going to try to make it 3 wide. To the bottom of the track, hold the 78. Martin Truex Jr. trying to get back out front. Denny Hamlin trying to hang on to the lead.
And Kyle Busch pushing that outside groove. That's as high as I've seen anybody leave the corners today.
On to the top spot. Martin Truex Jr. not giving up on the bottom of the track yet. Kyle Busch to the outside of the 78, trying to take second away. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr.
Look how fast Kyle Busch tries to roll just past the middle and corner exit. He has pushed that exit out. Everybody else is turning left. Look at Denny Hamlin turn left and leave. Kyle Busch is still leaving high, much higher on that corner exit.
You heard at the beginning of the show, Kevin Harvick mentioned he's going to have to search around as the race goes on. Where will the groove be? Where will the best place to run be? And now they're starting to find that middle groove. They've been running either high or low on the sticky stuff, And now they've decided to move back to maybe a more conventional line.
But they're still in it, though. On corner entry, Steve, they're still in it. They move into the middle, but they enter on the sticky stuff.
Yeah, and Toyota's dominance continues. You talk about how many laps they have led here in New Hampshire, but they've lapped every lap of the race today and currently run in the top 3 positions. And who wants it first? You see that Toyota driver update, Rick? Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, think about that. Joe Gibbs Racing somehow still winless halfway through the season. You know, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, you want to be that driver, Jeff, that delivers the win back to the organization.
Yes, you do. You see Toyotas have led every lap today. Still the big ones yet to come, though. 139 to go till the end. Kelly.
For Denny Hamlin, he's been consistently finishing in the top 5, but his crew chief Mike Wheeler said, yeah, we're in this a bit for points, but we know we could win it too. And when I talked to Denny in pre-race, he said, yes, we're desperate. We need to get this car to victory lane. That's our best shot at getting into the playoffs, Marty.
Kelly battle shaping up there for second. Martin Truex Jr. looking underneath Kyle Busch. Looks like he might get the spot. When we talk about these Toyota teams, remember they got a brand new Camry model in 2017 that they had to figure out the aero balance on. Teams tell me it's taken a long time to kind of figure that. They sort of hit on it at a test at Indianapolis back in early April, and they have really refined it from there. They worked on it in May, and Dave, clearly they're getting much better as the season goes along.
Marty, imagine that. The 78 works well low. It works well high. Nice pass there by Martin Truex. They did work on the car just a little air pressure adjustment this time because the driver wasn't happy with it. And as for Matt Kenseth in the 20, I asked his crew chief Jason Ratcliffe about a Joe Gibbs Racing win today to get the organization back in the win column. And Jason Ratcliffe said it will happen. Might not be us, but it will happen, Rick.
Well, right now, of the top 3, they've got 2.
Well, remember, Rick, that leader, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, that's a backup car. He crashed in Friday's practice. Got a little loose right here in this area of the racetrack as he exited turn 4, lost the grip in the rear tires trying to come to a qualifying run, made contact with the inside wall. So I think they've unloaded a backup car, qualified up inside the top 10, continue to adjust on it. Here they are leading the race.
And how about that move by Kyle Busch? He saw Martin Truex Jr. was fast. He gave him that spot. I think that what Kyle Busch was thinking there is, hey, look, I'm going to eat my tires up if I try to hold him back. Just let him have this spot, and we'll come back and fight you later. Good battle here between Kyle Larson and Matt Kenseth.
But think about that. Early in the race, the 42 of Kyle Larson drives from last up into the top 5, which seems like an easy move for him. But now here we are, just past halfway, and he's battling just inside the top 10.
To Ryan Blaney's crew chief Jeremy Bolins, he told me that on these short tracks they really just have to survive the early part of the race. He says we usually get better over the long run. The feedback from Ryan so far, the center turn is pretty good. He's having to give the 21 a lot of front brake though.
And Kelly behind him, Kyle Larson, as we watched Martin Truex Jr. try to take the lead from Denny Hamlin. Rick, looks like he's going to be able to do it.
Hamlin trying to work that high line and keep the lead. Martin Truex Jr. running either on the bottom of the track or at the top of the track. It seems like the 78 can run wherever he wants, but he's not able to clear the 11 for the lead, at least not yet. Here comes the 18 back into the picture of Kyle Busch.
And Kyle Busch, we saw him kind of give that second spot up to Martin Truex Jr. Well, Denny Hamlin's not going to give the lead up. It's a big difference between second and the lead.
Denny Hamlin hanging on to it. He runs that high line. And Martin Truex Jr. running in the second spot. Kyle Busch is third, Kevin Harvick fourth, and Kurt Busch is fifth. We mentioned the practice crash for Denny Hamlin, race leader Denny Hamlin. This was early in the practice session, coming out of 4. Has to get a backup car out, and that backup car is working very well right now as he's leading at New Hampshire. We go NASCAR nonstop. You're watching Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series racing. The Overton's 301. And what a battle taking place up front as the 78 Martin Truex Jr. has been able to get by the 11 of Denny Hamlin. And they're looking behind the 22 of Joey Logano. Dave.
Ricky dove onto pit road after smoke started pouring from the 22. He knew that the left rear was over onto it, thought maybe he had broken something. He said, I never got tagged in the right and the left rear there, so I'm not sure exactly what it is. That had taken a look, now have to evaluate. He's back out.
Well, they have definitely not fixed it. You see the left rear.
Way out.
You hear left rear sticking around. To the garage for the 22, Rick. It's going to be huge points implications. The rear suspension on this race car, basically there's a bar in the back. It's called the track bar, but basically all you need to know is it holds that rear end from going left to right. As he goes around in the circle, the body wants to go left, the tires want to go, excuse me, the body wants to go right, the tires want to go left. It's rubbing that tire. It must be either a mount or the track bar itself is broken. 22 is going to have to go to the garage. This won't be a 5-minute clock situation, but it's not going to matter. With this many cars in the lead lap, this is going to cost a lot of points for Joey Logano trying to make the playoffs.
7 races until the playoffs, and the 22 team is getting more in a must-win situation with each race.
Yeah, remember, he won a race. He won a race earlier. They did not pass post-race inspection. That race doesn't count to be able to use to make the playoffs. So even with a race win, they have to go try to find a way to win another one. It's not looking good for this team.
Toyota of Martin Truex Jr., Toyota of Denny Hamlin, the Toyota of Kyle Busch, all have been in front of the field today. It has been all Toyota as far as lead laps. A year ago in the 2 races here at New Hampshire, Toyota led 96% of the laps. Why does one manufacturer seem to have a stranglehold on this racetrack?
Well, you have to ask yourself, is it the manufacturer or the teams that drive for the manufacturer, or a combination? You know, Kyle Busch very good here, Denny Hamlin very good. You know, when you look at their stats at this very unique 1-mile track, I mean, Jeff, you know your stats here are better than anyone's. It's just something, once you find some comfort here, it seems like it's easier to find success.
Yeah, and that goes for any racetrack. And then I do believe that Joe Gibbs Racing, if you think about the kind of drivers that they have, they're very good short track drivers. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, these guys are really good short track drivers, so that certainly helps guide them in the ship. I know this is a 1-mile racetrack, but this drives it drives like a big short track.
Side by side for second.
A big short track.
A big short track.
Oxymoron, I believe.
I was just making sure I heard him right.
Okay.
There's small short tracks, there's big short.
It's funny you say that. I was picking on him because, you know, as a crew chief, this is a short track because the brake package and the ducts, but by NASCAR qualifications, it's over a mile, so they don't consider it that.
If you grew up running South Boston Speedway, only ran that, this is a big track. But if you race in Charlotte and Michigan and Pocono, this is a short track.
Well, you talked about the 18 waving the 78 of Martin Truex by, perhaps trying to save some tire. It might be a good decision because it seems to be a little resurgence by the 18 working by Denny Hamlin.
And we have been able to experience an absolute treat with Chris Buescher and ride on the helmet. And so this is what an incredible perspective. We're on the visor of Chris Buescher's helmet, and this is it's an incredible view of what a driver sees in the cockpit of this car.
And also what he hears. So listen to how he accelerates. Listen to when he gets off the throttle. Great. This is it. We keep talking about it. Without a doubt, this is the best driver view that's ever happened in racing. Look at what he's looking for. He's looking for this grip right there, that groove right above those white lines. See how much darker it is than the rest? You can see the sun starting to shine on the racetrack. It makes it harder to see those defined grooves. When we get that sun shining, it makes them all look the same. So many times you're driving with those white lines. See the white lines, those hash marks? You use those as a reference point.
And with more on the 37 team, let's go to Dave.
Well, Rick, Chris Buescher is trying to draw a lot of race fans into his racing family, and he's going to marry his sweet Emma next Easter and obtain a whole new family. She has a huge family. They get together for a lot of gatherings. I said, you created any crazy new race fans out of that? And he goes, yeah, Uncle Mitchell. Uncle Mitchell didn't watch racing before Chris got engaged to Emma. He was a Ford guy, though, and so when Chris started driving a Chevy this year, Uncle Mitchell said, you know what? I'm really into this now, and I'm going to keep rooting for you. But I can't root for the bow tie. Chris said, that's fine, just stay with me.
Great story about Chris. His crew chief, Trent Owens, was the crew chief for Eric Almirola when he won at Daytona. To get Eric Almirola's win at Daytona in the 43 of Eric Almirola, or the 43 car, driven once again by Eric Almirola. What a recovery that guy has made to get back to the racetrack. Almirola currently running in the 21st position as we see this battle heating up between Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson. Johnson has the 5th position, Kyle Larson back in 6th.
And Rick, it's been fun to watch that 42 all afternoon long. And remember Kentucky last week? 90 green flag passes for Kyle Larson. Well, he's coming close to that today. On the first stage, 39th to 3rd. Second stage, 26th to 9th. So far in this stage, you see 12th to 6th for Kyle Larson. So an impressive run for this young man. And you get the sense of car very good at the beginning of runs, Jeff. I know traffic can be frustrating here in New Hampshire for a race car driver, but you get the sense that Kyle Larson feels like he has to attack immediately from the beginning of a run, because that's where his car is the best, and that's where he's picking off the most cars, trying to get Jimmy Johnson right here.
Yeah, Marty, that is a double-edged sword, because when your car is the best, you do need to go. But if your car isn't as good on a long run, then going early actually makes it worse on a long run because you hurt your tires. So trying to take advantage of that early speed seems like the natural thing to do, but if you go too hard, it makes it way worse on the end of long runs.
Well, now this is the perfect example of why drivers get frustrated with traffic. Kyle Larson, obviously faster than Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's not going to just pull over and let him go. He's running his own race, his own racing line, but Kyle Larson has to find a way to get out of the preferred groove, but continue the pace, continue the speed, and make his way past the 48.
Maybe Kyle Larson could take some notes from his son. That's Owen in the passenger seat, actually. Cash driving. Cash is Clint Boyer's son. Owen, son of Kyle Larson. They've had some fun driving through the motorhome lot. Out of the way, boys. So much fun here at the racetrack. Marty.
And Rick, you want the stats on that? It took about 5 laps, and Owen never lost a smile on his face at one time. So Cash Boyer's a star in the coach lot. I'll tell you guys, when he's giving Owen a ride like that, he might teach Dad some lessons like this.
And now we're seeing Kyle Larson. He got to the inside of the 48, still can't make the pass. 112 laps to go in the race. We're in the final stage. Martin Truex Jr. is out in front. We're going to keep our eye on this side-by-side battle in NASCAR Nonstop. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. It is Monster Energy Cup Series racing from New Hampshire. Just over 100 laps remaining in this short race. Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1. Then it was Kyle Busch who was able to get out front and win the second stage. And now Martin Truex Jr. has risen once again to the top of the field and looking to get his first win in the Cup Series at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Cole Pearn, after winning on a 1.5-mile track, which they have been so dominant on for the past 2 to 3 years, made the comment in Victory Lane last week, we're going to shut all the people up about us just being a 1.5-mile track type of race team and go win at the mile New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And sure enough, they're out front and in good position as the 48 now has lost a spot to Matt Kenseth and about to lose a spot to Clint Boyer.
You said it, Steve, with the problems with Joey Logano. You know, Matt Kenseth having a solid day can separate further away in points from Joey Logano. And also, there you see Clint Boyer making a move on the 48 car. He also hasn't won a race yet. He's 15th in points, so having a solid day also will help him in points. And Clint Boyer, he is, this is a racetrack where he is really good on. He has won here before. He's led laps here. He is a really, really good race car driver. But here, particularly 48 car, Jimmy Johnson way loose on the exit of 4. That's not saving tires, Steve. No. Wow, you could see him just try to lay the throttle down, and the back end just did not stay. So right here, he's trying to get underneath Clint again as Clint lost a little bit of power. When he turned the wheels to the left, the rear tires just did not hook up.
Lost a little more ground to the 14 of Clint Boyer. Take another look.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's saving tires when it's leaving tire tracks.
No.
That's life of the tire being left on the racetrack, Rick.
And it takes a couple laps to recover that. It does. Your speed will be gone out of your race car for a couple laps. You just got to wait for those rear tires to cool back down a little bit. That is just eating those rear tires up and applying more heat to them.
It's time now for today's Fresh Take, brought to you by Subway. Let's listen into the 14 radio of Clint Boyer and talking about the sticky stuff that's on the track.
21 to me seems like he runs pretty hard at the start, off pretty hard, you know, as we got later in the run.
He's pretty committed to not being in the PJ.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was doing that on purpose just to try and feel out what the car needs to be for later when that PJ goes away. Watching that, I was like, we were the only car in the middle. Everybody else is either on the top or the bottom.
So what that is, that's communication from Brett Griffith, the spotter, and then the crew chief. They're both talking about what Clint is doing and why is Clint not running where everybody else is running. And the conclusion is, hey, he's trying to figure out as this race develops and the middle groove becomes the best, as this PJ1 material gets worn off, he's going to know what his car needs, where everybody else is running in that material. So sometimes you don't really want to ask the driver, hey, what are you doing? You know, you just let him do what he's doing, let him make lap time, and then the conversation between the spotter and the crew chief is trying to figure it out.
99 laps to go. There's been 202 laps complete already, and now Kyle Larson, after starting at the back of the field once again this week, has made his way up into the top 5 and challenging for a top 4 position with Kevin Harvick, as Jimmy Johnson being contested for that position from teammate Chase Elliott. And the other teammate back there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they're running nose to tail, the 3 Hendrick Motorsports cars. Battle for 4th continuing, though, as now we're seeing drivers use that middle line quite a bit more. That time Kyle Larson entered turn 3 right in the middle of the track and has stayed there the whole time, trying to make up ground on the 4 of Kevin Harvick.
And
And guys, you can see Kyle Larson fairly committed to the middle. In fact, they asked him about that a moment ago. Do you maybe want to move down lower, see if there's any grip on the lower part of the racetrack? He said, no, I think the middle is what's going to prevail here. So, Jeff, what we're seeing is as this traction substance that was put down on the racetrack is wearing off, a lot of drivers saying they're extremely free off the corners. Kyle Larson might finally make this pass on Kevin Harvick. So as the substance wears off, Jeff, you got to change what you're doing as a driver.
You do have to change what you're doing. Obviously, it's been working for Kyle Larson. I think, without a doubt, Kevin Harvick's going to watch that. It wouldn't surprise me one bit for him to change his line and move into the middle of the racetrack. But what's so important about that, Marty, is getting the information about how does my car drive. There you go. Kevin Harvick lowered his line, entered in the middle of the racetrack versus entering in on the higher side of the racetrack. But how does my car drive in the middle? Because you need to start communicating that now. This racetrack always gets a late race caution. We know they're going to have to pit even if this thing goes green, they're going to have to pit. So you're going to have an opportunity to make a change on your car to make it better. Dave.
Joey Logano is on pit road now, getting fuel in his race car after having repaired the rear end. Steve, there's, as you know, a number of pieces that put the rear end together with the track bar back there. Just confirmed with Travis Geisler from Team Penske, something back there broke and really ruined the 22's day, which was already bad.
Well, yeah, David, it definitely was a failure, and it seems like a rear suspension failure. That's a hot topic in the garage area because it's a way that these teams are trying to find an advantage. So if we go into the cutaway car here and look, so basically at the bottom, you have the left side truck arm and the track bar, and the interface of the two is kind of in the left side corner right there. And basically, that track bar across the back of the car holds that rear end housing from left to right. It also keeps the car heading straight. We talk about skew, how important it is, and the aerodynamic advantage as teams work in that area. There's a lot of games being played, and it seems like the 22 has had a failure, and that failure was in an area curious enough to NASCAR that they ended up taking that left side truck arm from the 22 for some observations, Jeff. They're probably going to want to see what broke, why it broke, perhaps look through the garage area. That is a hot topic in the garage area, a place where teams, we talk about the laser, Rick? Well, the laser basically measures what those suspension parts control.
And they had to replace that on the 22 of Joey Logano. He's back out, but quite a few laps down. Martin Truex Jr. still out front as we go NASCAR nonstop with 92 laps to go. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver just like you're at the track. Get live stats, leaderboards, driver, team communications, and more on any device. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview. Coca-Cola on board of Ryan Newman looking forward. As Daniel Suarez that is up in front of him for position. Currently on the lead lap, 26 cars. Michael McDowell trying to stay on the lead lap. Martin Truex Jr. trying to put as many a lap down as he can. We just saw the hand go out the window of Clint Boyer.
But Rick, I think that statement, think about that. 59 laps, green flag racing right there. And still 26 cars on the lead lap on a very small racetrack. It just shows you how equal the field is. While Martin Truex Jr. is making it seem easy to lead this race, you know, his advantage in speed over the rest of the field is nowhere near as big as it was at Kentucky last week. It's such a small amount, but he's been consistent with it lap after lap.
So we heard the conversation of Clint Boyer's spotter talking to his crew chief about Clint running the middle of the racetrack, trying to figure out if that was the right thing to do or not. Without a doubt, for this 14 car, that has been the right thing to do. He's driven up to 6th place using the middle of the racetrack. He's not even running up. We see a lot of cars running up in that upper groove. Clint Boyer, watch his corner entry. Of course, he's going to pass somebody as I'm saying that. But his corner entry is not using the PJ1. It's right in the middle of the racetrack. The traditional New Hampshire groove. Remember, the bottom groove in New Hampshire has less banking than the second groove. So traditionally, the second groove has been better. Clint Boyer is using that to his advantage.
Daniel Suarez on pit road now, as well as the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Dave.
About a lap ago, drivers started hearing the words, "Our pit window is opening." This will be a 4 Goodyear tire and full of fuel stop for Daniel Suarez, who gave up 10th to come down pit road. Martin Truex Jr., he gave up the lead. And so Truex now coming to pit road. There you see him, flat right front tire. May have not been his plan to come down this soon, but now as you see him trying to lift the jack, the car that has dominated all day long now has a problem. Crew going to quick work. The right sides are done. There's the old tire. They'll get the fresh ones on the left. Hopefully no suspension damage to the 78.
Sometimes things have to go your way. The 78, very unfortunate to have a flat tire, but very fortunate that it's inside the pit window. And as we start to see more and more cars hit pit road, the 78 actually started this green flag cycle inadvertently. They had no choice but to come to pit road.
Marty.
And guys, Danica Patrick coming on pit road here. In essence, these cars are all splitting this final window. They obviously can make it to the end of this race on fuel from here. Been a nice run for Danica today in the top 15 solidly all afternoon long. Car starts a little free, gets too tight at the end of a run.
The real question now, Rick, is what will Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, the leaders do? The 78, we saw him come to pit road with that flat tire, but this is a base, I don't know, 20, 25 laps early for these teams that need fuel. Well, here at Loudon in these short lap times, they now have the 78 pinned laps down, and that's the idea. You know, why they are losing ground to the 78 because he has newer tires. As long as he's laps behind, this may be the best way to beat the 78.
Marty.
And guys, Adam Stevens told Kyle Busch, say, hey, we have a big enough lead right now that no matter if these guys do come down right now, we're fine. We're going to hang out here on pit road, out on the racetrack for a while. But some of these other teams are talking about coming down pit road sooner.
Eric Almirola in the 43 on pit road. Dave.
And Eric had been running outside of the top 20. The car just has not been good for him this weekend in his return to full-time Cup Series competition, but no complaints about the back. The most interesting thing for him, sitting in a new position today. He has his back in a different spot so that if that same accident happens again, his neurosurgeon, Dr. Jerry Petty, believes that he'll survive it better the next time.
Kyle Busch still out front, has a 1-second lead over Denny Hamlin.
So what's made this decision more difficult, Steve, about whether to pit or not, is if you go back and think about this racetrack and when the cautions come out, we have a lot of cautions in the second half of the race. So if Kyle Busch can stay out and not pit and then catch this caution, look at all the cautions in the second half of the race, that's advantage Kyle Busch. But right now, Martin Truex Jr., after putting tires on, he's 4/10 a lap quicker. So if he doesn't get that caution and they have to go green flag, well, Martin Truex Jr. is killing the 18 car on lap time right now. So the 18 is going to need this late race caution.
But the question is, Jeff, this is stage racing. All those races weren't. This is a totally new landscape. We've already seen 6 cautions today. That didn't show on any of that graphic. So do any of those stats matter? Can you throw away all the information you had at this racetrack? That's really the gamble the 18 is taking, is they're feeling that this is a new type of racing here for New Hampshire.
Let's go back to Dave Burns.
Well, Rick, just a little more detail. You heard Eric in Countdown to Green describe for us how his vertebra had been crushed in sort of a pie-shaped position. And so the new seating position for him has him more straight up and down. They feel that that way, if he does happen to have the same sort of accident happen, their vertebra will have more cushion to take care of the impact. So there you see so on the left, of course, you're watching his rehabilitation, which completed this week, but it was during the test to get him back on the track that they discovered we've got to reseat him. And oh, by the way, since the seat adapter they put in the seat made his leg go numb, they had to actually go back to the shop and spend 7.5 hours pouring him a new seat to give him this new seating position for the future.
And right now, Eric Almirola being scored a lap down to race leader Kyle Busch. Liberty Tax Service on board of Chris Buescher. The 78s, again, had a tire issue, but made it to pit road. Listening to the radio.
Are you thinking here, Cole, I need to go? Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the 18 is at. I haven't been looking, but he's the leader. I just try and make up as much time as I can, and at least help us recover. We're good to go here on gas.
Look at how much faster he is right now than Kyle Busch.
So that's just a perfect example of a veteran driver. He wanted to know, hey, what's my plan here? Am I saving tires, saving fuel? How ill-timed was that pit stop? And Cole Pern looked at all the information and said, you know, our best way to recover is to go hard. The 78 is absolutely doing it. You see him closing down on the race leader very, very quickly. And when he passes the 18, this is going to make the decision to stay on the racetrack for Kyle Busch much more difficult, because we talked about the advantage he has right now is he has a 78 down a lap. Once that flips and he doesn't have a down a lap anymore, much tougher to stay on the racetrack.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 trying to unlap himself, trying to get back on the lead lap. If he can get by the 18, Kyle Busch leading, and Martin Truex Jr. now on the tail end of the lead lap, and turning some pretty good lap times. We go NASCAR nonstop once again from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods, giving us a bird's eye view of that great battle for second that was heating up between Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Hamlin still out front now. Harvick and Chase Elliott have decided to come to pit road.
Yeah, Rick, the first of the real players here in the top 10 and the top 5 coming to pit road. Chase Elliott comes down pit road. Said the car was a little edgy, but not bad. You're going to see 4 fresh Goodyear tires for Kevin Harvick right in front of him. He said his car was out of control with no grip. 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel to make it to the end, and hopefully adjustments maybe to catch that 18 and hold off 78 as well.
Green flag pit stops underway now. Quite a few cars making their way down there. The 14 of Clint Boyer. Marty?
And Rick, you know, and you see Boyer go over the stall there. They had to push him back. That's going to be costly on the green flag stop here for the 14. It's going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires still, and they're on the hose as well. A very costly stop here for the 14, Dave.
Tony, Matt Kenseth is on pit road. He'll get service and is already gone to rejoin the field. The 41 of Kurt Busch was on and off of pit road as well.
Denny Hamlin saying that his 11 car was just getting really tight across the center. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Denny.
They had a problem on the right front. Kelly.
And now you see Ryan Blaney in that 21 car. He just said that his car was getting looser and looser. He said it was disconnected. You see they make a chassis adjustment. They'll give him 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel as well, Marty.
Kelly, leader Kyle Busch comes into his pit stall. A clean stop for them. They said you can go long into the box if you want to, because Kevin Harvick obviously not here. A quick stop so far. He said, because I had to pass so many tires, felt like I was chattering all 4 tires, and once again used the hockey puck reference to the 4 Goodyear tires he had. Clean exit for that 18 car. Kyle Larson further up pit road said his car was so good in the middle part of the run. Best it had been all day, but at the end got way too free. So a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment trying to tighten up for the end of that run.
Kyle Busch too fast entering pit road.
Too fast, section 5.
So the opportunity to potentially get to victory lane in 2017 may have to wait another race.
So major pit stops matter the most at the end of the race. We saw 2 pit crews make mistakes. We saw 2 drivers make mistakes. Clint Boyer slid through his pits. Kyle Busch sped on pit road. We saw a mistake on the 11 pit crew.
And that's the story. Everybody wants to talk about how fast the 78 is from time to time, but the cars that have a chance to run with them continue to eliminate themselves at the end of these races with mistakes. Now we see the 88, who's currently the leader, trying to run very long into this green flag cycle, trying to perhaps get lucky with the yellow. He will have to come to pit road.
His last time on pit road was lap 153.
And Steve, you mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his team kind of staying out here longer. They could run to about lap 280 or so should Greg Ives choose to do that. However, the crew standing on the wall, we'll see how long they leave that 88 out there, because clearly the tires behind him, those fresh tires, will catch him rather quickly here.
And it's the first time a non-Toyota has been out front. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading laps at New Hampshire. And the 18 coming back onto pit road, serving the speeding penalty. That is the 4th speeding penalty of 2017 for Kyle Busch. They had a jack issue on an earlier stop. Lost in track position. Now Kyle Busch comes back out onto the track, and Kyle Busch will be scored a lap down.
Yeah, I think the 88, the leader, Marty just reported he could go to about 280. I have him really needing fuel about lap 250. Really, even before that, he's probably 3 or 4 laps away from needing fuel. So I think Greg Ives is trying to give himself and Dale Jr. any option possible. I mean, they're in a situation, Rick, where they're not going to point their way into the playoffs. It would have to be a major turnaround in consistency. So why not? When you talk about taking a gamble, that's what the 88 is doing. He's going to have to get super, super lucky with a caution, but maybe luck is what they need. Everything has kind of gone wrong for this car this year, so there's really no risk at this point, Jeff.
Well, one good thing for Junior is he's on the same pit strategy as Keselowski and his crew chief Paul Wolf, and Paul Wolf team says to make this type of strategy work, they tend to pit later than everybody else sometimes, earlier than everybody sometimes. They gamble, and many times it works for them.
Hey, Jeff, you know what that's called? Looking at the wrong numbers on my sheet. That's my bad. Yes, about lap 250 we expect Junior, so it's not going to last much longer, and there's a lot of nervous people down here in the 88 pit.
Well, Marty, my 5s and 8s looked the same as well. Called bad handwriting, bud. We both got it.
Ryan Newman coming at you, Marty.
And for Ryan Newman, especially this run, it's been a bit of a struggle. He said it's just not as good. This run way loose on entry. Going to be 4 Goodyear tires. He'll have the Sunoco fuel to go to the end. Now all these guys trying to stretch that window are trying to get as far as they can. Greg Ives just told Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the radio a moment ago, we're about a lap away from you flipping the switch, meaning when you flip that switch, it goes to a reserve tank and he'll have 1 more lap. So Junior trying to stretch it as far as he can.
Newman heading back out onto the track. And 78s of Martin Truex Jr. had this to say on the radio.
I think it blew a bead, Martin. Just make sure you got your right front fan on. I'm sure you do. Just double checking. Goodyear said we ran something over. It wasn't a bead failure. Nothing.
So they're talking about that tire issue that Martin Truex Jr. had earlier. The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road, as is the 2 of Brad Keselowski.
Rick finally went as far as they could for this 88 team for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Jr. just said, I don't think it's worth risking running out of fuel. They have been pretty quick with this 88, especially towards the end of runs. Been running in the top 10 all day long. Good day for them, Dave.
The 2 of Brad Keselowski on pit road, maybe for the final time as well. A 4-tire change, a slight air pressure adjustment for Brad.
Earnhardt Jr. and Brad Keselowski both were running up in the top 2, and the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. he goes by as the race leader and puts the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. a lap down. Dave.
So here's a situation, Rick. When that flat tire happened, and we heard them discuss it on the radio, ran something over, brought him to pit road with 83 laps remaining. Cole Pearn, the crew chief, and I talked this morning about how far they could go on a green flag run. He said mid to high 80s. So if there is no overtime, he certainly seems good. They did tell him, though, you remember that radio transmission, turn those fans on and take care of those front tires just in case we got a little bit too hot.
And you just saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. unlap himself, was able to get back by the 78. A lot fresher tires on the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and that could become an issue with this race for the 78 of Martin Truex Jr.
And that's absolutely right, Rick. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr., been well documented, came to pit road because he had a flat, but he had to come to pit road about 18 or 20 laps sooner than most of the cars he's racing. So Matt Kenseth, while he's almost 5 seconds behind the 78, those fresher tires, he's making up ground every lap. Behind him, Kyle Larson. Behind him, Denny Hamlin. So with 52 to go, I think the 78 has to, A, try to manage those tires, perhaps not have another flat, and B, has to worry about the cars behind him catching him. Because right here, if you see the speeds at the line, Martin Truex Jr. absolutely is not going to have the fastest race car. Matt Kenseth, much faster. Larson, much faster. Everyone with newer tires is running the leader down.
We'll see how important tires are at New Hampshire. And with 51 laps to go, Martin Truex Jr. not even in the top 3 as far as speeds.
And after having served that penalty, Kyle Busch came back out in 11th. He's still in the lead lap, but he's about 19 seconds behind the leader, Martin Truex Jr.
Kurt Busch also on the lead lap, running in the 10th position. There are 20 cars on the lead lap. Brad Keselowski is at the tail end of the lead lap right now.
But Rick, this is New Hampshire. We always start to see long runs. You showed earlier about how we always see cautions in the second half of the race. Well, maybe this is the new New Hampshire. Maybe with the stages, it's flipping the cautions to the beginning. Maybe this is what all the races are going to look like. But it's a very rhythm-based racetrack. You have to find a way to get in and out of traffic and continuing to run good lap times.
About 0.4 of a second faster that time was Matt Kenseth than Martin Truex Jr.
Think about what a win could do for Matt Kenseth. We keep talking about Truex and the dominant year he had. We talk about Kyle Busch trying to not get to match his biggest winless streak. Well, Matt Kenseth, he's out of a ride. He said last week at Kentucky, hey, I'm not going to drive the 20 next year. They put Eric Jones in it on Tuesday, so he's trying to run the leader here of Martin Truex Jr. down. Has the lead now down to under 3 seconds.
Yeah, every car that catches Martin Truex Jr. that's on newer tires, even if it's a lap car like we just saw David Reagan passing, that slows him down. So that is advantage Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth is coming, and he can see him now. He sees him in his windshield. His spotter's telling him you're coming and giving him intervals, the amount of time you are from the leader. So Matt Kenseth, he's getting excited, man. He's almost just 1.8 seconds behind. He was over 4 seconds behind not long ago. He is really cutting into this lead.
We all know what the situation is with Matt Kenseth right now. We don't know. Matt doesn't know what he's doing next year. But when I talked with Jason Ratcliffe this morning and asked how it's affecting the rest of the team, he said, well, not in the way that we're going for the championship, but I will tell you that this week, everybody on the 20 team was told that they will have a job, if they want to, at Joe Gibbs Racing next year, that they can keep this intact, whatever it may look like. I said, what about you? Ratcliffe said, I will not be the crew chief on the 20 next year. He doesn't know where he will be. That's the update straight from the crew chief on the 20.
And that team trying to get a win. It was a year ago this racetrack that they last won. A new leader in New Hampshire. Matt Kenseth has been able to pass the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. And now Matt Kenseth, that elusive victory that he has not been able to find in 2017, could be just in front of him.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth with those fresher tires, just so much more speed than Martin Truex Jr. Made it look easy because it was. He's just that much faster, about 4/10 a lap quicker. And now he just needs to maintain. Kyle Larson's in third place, 2.5 seconds back. That's the goal, to stay ahead of Kyle Larson.
And a caution comes out just as Kenseth was able to get by Martin Truex Jr. And that means there will be a restart. Kenseth.
Got us in the left rear.
Out in front with 40, now 39 laps to go. Ryan Newman up on the wheel.
Obviously some contact. We heard got him in the got us in the left rear. Not sure who it was that got him in the left rear.
He was running 23rd at the time.
Whoever got him very good, because he's backwards up the track. Again, you see contact's already been made. Does a nice job not getting into the wall.
Yes, he does.
Not a lot of damage, just.
Okay, so now it's pit stop time.
Is it?
Yes,
everybody comes?
Yes,
you do a 2-tire, 4-tire? Is that an option now?
Well, you think this is really basically the same as what we saw in stage 1. And you see Ryan Newman get his car back going again. This is the same as it was in stage 1. It was split up about in the middle. Here we're 39 to go. I expect all the leaders to be on pit road, and I expect them to take 4 tires.
We saw mistakes by drivers, mistakes by pit crews. You cannot have it now.
20 cars on the lead lap, and we're expecting to see all of them on pit road. Marty?
Top of your screen, Kyle Larson comes in running third. He said he was tighter on that run, but he was frustrated with lap traffic. We'll see what all these leaders wind up doing if they take 4 or 2 fresh Goodyear tires. Dave?
Remember what Jason Ratcliffe told me earlier today? The win will happen today. It'll be a chassis adjustment for Matt Kenseth and 2 right side tires. As for the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., someone came on the radio and said, we're back in it. I think it was the driver. He's going to take 4, though, and have more grip when they leave pit road, Rick.
You know, a year ago, the 20 of Matt Kenseth used a little bit of pit strategy on lap 264. By the way, we're on lap 264, and Matt Kenseth just took 2 tires.
But Rick, here's the problem. What did everyone else take?
4.
And that, when we talk about pit decisions, this is the whole crux of the situation. Jason Ratcliffe has no idea what the field's going to do. He has Matt Kenseth. Doesn't have a ride next year, trying to get his driver to victory lane, gives him track position, thinks he has to start at the front of the field. So that, the only way you guarantee that is to take 2 tires. Unfortunately, everyone else takes 4 tires. Now Matt Kenseth in his 20, I feel, is a sitting duck at this point.
And I once again will have to be the bearer of bad news for the 18 team. 2 fast entering, speeding once again on pit road.
Too fast, section 5 again, same one.
Right.
Rick, I have found possibly the greatest spot to watch a race from here in New Hampshire. This is the terrace over here. And the view that we have, we are basically just above turn 4. There used to be some grandstands. They took these out. There's about 20 spots over here hanging with my friends. But the trackside terrace is a view unlike any other. You can look right over here and see we're watching everybody, the different lines that they're running. We saw a couple guys just bump into each other. But the perspective over here is so crazy because, Burton, the one thing that I can't figure out is how no one wrecks getting onto pit road here, because although the speeds don't seem as high as a lot of other tracks, that's so much speed to whoa up as you're turning left. How do drivers avoid that here?
Well, you just heard Kyle Busch got caught speeding on pit entry again, so it is a difficult thing to do. What makes it so difficult is it's hard to see the entrance to pit road. It's so far around the corner here at Loudon. Until you get there, it's hard to see it. So it is one of the more difficult pit roads to approach.
Let's go to Kelly.
Rick, there's been a personnel change down here at the 11 car. The usual tire specialist, Kerry Ferris, not here. He's standing up at his sister's wedding. So you're looking to send it Steve LaRoque, who's the team's usual CNC machine guy. They trained him to fill in this week, and crew chief Mike Wheeler said it really made us realize that we have depth at so many other areas, but not at tires. But now we know we've got a good backup plan in case, once again, they need someone to fill in for Kerry Ferris. But Steve LaRoque, he said, doing a great job on this one-week duty as tire specialist.
Well, you have to have all hands on deck. That's the idea of a team, recover from one another. But what a storyline here. We talked about the 88 and Greg Ives running as far into that pit window as possible. What did that do? That gave him the freshest of the old tires. So the 88 stays on the racetrack. We talked a must-win situation for the 80. He will not make the playoffs on points without a major turnaround, Marty. So now they stay on the racetrack to try to grab a win.
And Steve, the quote from the driver, why not? Leave him out, see what happens. CJ Majors told him, come on, buddy, you can do this. He's going to have older tires, but we'll see what this 88 does on this restart.
I think this is what Matt Kenseth wanted to see. He wanted to see the guy start next to him without tires on.
35 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. Kenseth, 2 fresh tires on the inside. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Maybe a little contact from the 11 of Denny Hamlin, who's coming up with 4 fresher tires.
And Matt Kenseth needs Denny Hamlin to have a tough battle here with Earnhardt Jr.
Here comes the 42 of Kyle Larson. He's been the fastest car all weekend. Practice, qualifying. And now he's made his way up into the top 4.
Denny Hamlin all over the back of Matt. Matt's got his work cut out defending those 4 tires.
Kyle Larson trying to get around the 88s for that 3rd spot. The battle for the lead continues. 2 teammates, Joe Gibbs Racing teammates that haven't won in 2017, fighting for that top spot. Denny Hamlin right up against the bumper of the 20. Moves him out of the way, and Hamlin goes by for the lead.
Matt Kenseth held him off the best he could, but just with those old left side tires, Jeff, he doesn't have the grip of his teammate Denny Hamlin. Now Denny needs to try to get out, use that clean air, and extend his lead as the 42 of Kyle Larson works his way through traffic behind him.
I would ask, with less than 33 laps to go, have we seen the final caution as they get aggressive around this racetrack?
Probably not.
I would be shocked, but that's really now. So now what does Denny Hamlin do, Jeff? That's a great question. Now that he has a lead, does he save any tire, or does he just try to go as hard as he can? If you're the leader, what are you thinking?
No, you got to go because you have Kyle Larson coming. We've seen Kyle have short run speed. You just got to go as hard as you can. I think advantage for everybody, though. Martin Truex restarted in 3rd position, but he was not able to get through 1 and 2 quite like he needed to. Fell back now to 4th, so a big gap to Martin Truex Jr.
You see the 88 continue to fall through traffic, Rick. A big gamble, probably a calculated gamble and needed, but not working out.
Yeah, we talked about the 78 on that restart. He restarted in the 3rd spot. Here he is right on the very bottom of the racetrack, right behind Matt Kenseth. In a good spot, Dale Jr. on older tires, but runs onto the apron. When he ran on the apron, he lost all grip, got up the racetrack. Now he's 3 wide. Tons of momentum lost. I think he did a great job to come out of this in 4th position.
Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to stay up toward the front. A big wiggle out of the 48 because Brad Keselowski put the bumper to him.
Getting aggressive with Keselowski and Johnson right there. How about Danica Patrick? 114th place. Having a good solid day.
How about the 14 in the middle?
Yeah, you see in that mix Chase Elliott. And you know what he told me before this weekend, he said, you know, execution has been our big thing. Right now, they've had a 12th place car, and they're trying to get back into the top 10, but execution, trying to find speed in races, that's where that 24 has been so good, trying to prove it once again that they could come out of here with a good finish, maybe better than they ran all day long. Rick, look at that. Battles all over the racetrack.
Yeah, and again, Brad Keselowski all over the back bumper of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Now, Johnson's been able to get back out in front. Denny Hamlin in front of the field. Kenseth and Larson fighting for the second spot.
But Danica with the big drive into the corner, slid up in front of Denny Hamlin.
Jamie McMurray.
I'm sorry, Jamie Murray, thank you.
I was going to say, no one's in front of Denny Hamlin.
No one.
No, he doesn't see anyone out the windshield. And right now, Denny Hamlin's best friend is his teammate, Matt Kenseth, because he's kind of holding up the 42 of Kyle Larson.
Up the racetrack goes the one of Jamie McMurray, and Danica Patrick trying to hold that outside line. Here comes the 42, trying to get by the 20 of Matt Kenseth. Morning.
And Rick, you'll remember on that last stop, Kyle Larson lost one position. That's because the rear tire changer coming around the car slipped and fell. That little bit cost him that little bit on pit road and had him restart a little bit further back. So he's having to work his way back up through the field. But the one thing they've done all day long is try and make the car better in the middle part of the run. That might play to their favor right here. And once again, speaking of the middle, that is where Kyle Larson has been committed since about halfway through this race to run that middle line, Jeff, and it's paid off for this 42.
It has paid off. One of the things that we saw, he did not have speed in the long runs. Now, right now, Matt Kenseth has that middle line, so Kyle Larson has no choice but to try something different. So that lap, he went into the corner high and then turned down on corner exit.
And with this many laps left, Rick, all these crew chiefs are asking themselves, if the caution comes out, what do I do? If the caution comes out, how many tires do I need? As because Kyle Larson finally gets underneath the 20 of Matt Kenseth.
Fight's not over, though. Matt Kenseth is going to keep battling on that outside.
We'll see if the 42 can use that inside line. Now he goes to the middle. Does he get by the 20? He will clear him. And now it's the 42 of Kyle Larson in second, chasing down Denny Hamlin. Here comes the 20 back with the crossover move, trying to take second back. And look out, the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. While these two are fighting for position, he has moved himself into the third spot.
Now, if Denny Hamlin wants to win this race with 24 to go, he's going to have to hold off the two hottest drivers in NASCAR this year, the 42 of Kyle Larson, the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. They've been the dominant cars all year, and now they're the two trying to chase down leader Denny Hamlin.
They have a lot of ground to make up, though, Steve. Denny has pulled way out. The battle with Matt Kenseth has really helped Denny Hamlin, so that's a lot of ground to make up in 24 laps.
Well, we talked about it. We talked about what this win would mean to Matt Kenseth. Well, let's not forget Denny Hamlin, 14th in the points. He doesn't want to have to think about the playoffs. He wants to enjoy the summer, work with his race team to get better for the playoffs. The only way to take that pressure off is a win. He's been very vocal that he has not had winning cars this year. He even said it's going to take time. It's not going to be a 1 or 2 week turnaround. Well, maybe the time is now. It's been a couple months since those comments, 28 races since he's visited Victory Lane.
And his crew chief, Mike Wheeler, tells me, though, team morale has been able to stay up because they do feel like they've had some of the performance. But again, the word that Denny used with me pre-race, desperate. They are desperate to get to Victory Lane. The team telling him, don't overdrive it. You're killing the guys behind it. They don't want them wearing out those tires.
While he's out front, I want to remind you that he will be at the Hall of Fame with us on Wednesday for the special NASCAR America live from the Hall of Fame. NASCAR America weekdays at 5 o'clock, but on Wednesday it will be from the Hall of Fame, and Denny Hamlin will be the guest. Will he be the most recent winner? It happened the first time we went to the Hall of Fame. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. joined us right after his win at Daytona.
I'm going to tell you right now, Rick, if Denny Hamlin wins this race, you better open up your calendar, because all of these drivers are going to want to join you at the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's 2 for 3. That's a pretty good record.
Dave.
Right now running in the 7th position, the 19 of Daniel Suarez. Another good run for them. Entering today's race, they were not in position for the playoffs. They did not have enough points. But think what has happened today. He's having a top 10 run, and ahead of him, Joey Logano and Eric Jones have had bad days. He is fast. Another Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota that has put it to work here today in New Hampshire.
Yeah, how about the job Daniel Suarez has done this year? This is kind of his year in a nutshell. As the year goes on, he's gotten better. As his races go on, he's gotten better. He just continues to learn, gets better every week. We saw this in the Xfinity Series. He ultimately won an Xfinity championship, but he did it by learning and by getting better in every race. And not necessarily started out great at the beginning of races, but they'd find their way in victory lane or with good finishes as the race progressed.
2.5.
We knew, or we thought, Jeff, there were going to be some more winners over the course of the summer. Denny Hamlin perhaps was on that list. There are just so many big names that have not won a race. He's trying to check it off the list for this year. But we're going to have to see, as we see the speeds at the line, we'll see how Denny Hamlin is doing first. The 2 cars chasing him down. This is the concern. The 2 cars chasing him, Rick, they have more speed than the leader currently.
The difference is it was only that time by. It was a 1/10 of a second with 18 laps to go. If you make up a 1/10 of a second every lap, that's 1.8 seconds, and he's 2.3 seconds behind.
But they're driving on the edge of control, Jeff. You know how slippery this racetrack is. We talked about the groove all day long. One slip by the 11, it's not going to cost a 1/10 of a second. It could be 3, 4, 5/10 of a second with one mistake.
The gap, 2.2 seconds now between Hamlin and Larson. Behind them, Martin Truex Jr. running 3rd, Kenseth 4th, Kevin Harvick 5th. This battle between Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski for 8th. Last time by, Denny Hamlin had the 4th fastest lap time, and Kyle Larson was the fastest on the racetrack. Again, a little over a 1/10 of a second. Now it's 2 seconds that separate Hamlin and Larson. Larson chipping away every lap, trying to close the gap on Denny Hamlin.
Really, it might come down to lap traffic. Right now, the 11 has a half a straightaway, feeling pretty good, but at the pace these leaders are running, they're going to catch the back of the field, and that's not what Denny Hamlin wants to see.
Well, another 2/10 of a second cut out of the lead on that lap as well.
1.8. He's got the lapper in for the amount.
Trying to get by the 33 of Jeffrey Earnhardt. He clears him now. No cars in between the 11 and the 42. Kyle Larson has been runner-up 6 times already this season.
And that's a net gain for Kyle Larson. You heard him reference the lap car. Well, Denny Hamlin, it cost him about 2.5 of a second to get by the lap car. Kyle Larson, Jeff, got by him and really didn't slow his lap time down at all. Net gain for Kyle Larson.
There's some more lap cars ahead of both of these guys, and where they catch them is so important. See, Denny Hamlin has caught this lap car in the corner. That's going to impede him just a little bit. He still has not been able to get by him. He's going to enter the corner lower than he really wants to. That's going to hurt his lap time.
Kyle Larson closing the gap, 1.7 seconds. We're looking forward to a great finish here. And a reminder, 1 hour of coverage. 1 hour of coverage following this race right on NBCSN. Plenty of interviews from the drivers. And now as the top 2 have got into lap traffic, that is definitely going to come into play. Can Kyle Larson catch them?
And Rick, think about think about what these 2 have had to overcome. The 11 in a backup car, the 42 started at the rear of the field. So adversity for both the first and second place car.
Kelly.
Denny Hamlin trying to become the first Joe Gibbs Racing driver to win this season. His crew chief saying it's not just the team that's improved. Denny's been improving in what he's been doing inside the cockpit of the car, his driving style. He said we're off the mark just enough to stay motivated, to continue to get better. That motivation paying off today, Marty.
Kelly, remember last week at Kentucky, Kyle Larson started last, finished second. Today, he started last in New Hampshire. Right now, running second. Would love to get that one more spot. All he's hearing on the radio is a spotter giving him lap times. And every single lap for the last 10 laps, Kyle Larson has cut into that lead for Denny Hamlin. Does he have enough time to catch him, Dave?
About 30 laps ago, Martin Truex Jr. came across the radio and said, not feeling so good right now. I don't know why. He was talking about the race car and added later, just haven't had it the last couple of runs. Dominated so much of this race early on, but at the end, the car not as good as he wishes it would be.
And up into the wall was Jamie McMurray. He slid into the wall coming off of turn 4. So a little bit of right rear damage for that one of McMurray. See if he's able to continue on.
Jeff, you and I talked about this for many years. This was the Loudon race 300 laps. Well, now it's the Loudon 301. And at the pace that Kyle Larson is catching Denny Hamlin, Rick, that one lap might make a difference.
Jamie way up out of the groove, but the lead has been cut down to 1 second with 9 laps, 8 laps left.
Just under 9 to go. There's the gap. A little over 100 feet is all that separates 1 and 2. So Denny Hamlin.
See right here that that is a great place to catch a lap car. That's not really going to slow at all Kyle Larson as opposed to Denny Hamlin. He caught him in the middle of the corner. This right here is hurting Denny Hamlin's lap time also. He has 2 of these cars right in front of him.
Hamlin now has to choose which line. He goes right through the middle. The lap cars definitely affecting the line. The gap under 7/10 of a second. Kyle Larson trying to clear the lap traffic, trying to close the gap. 7 laps to go. .200 feet separate the top 2 now. It was down to 100.
And Rick, we talk about what it takes to win a race. We talk about pit stops and strategy and all of those things that have to go into it. But this has come down to just plain old hard racing. 2 great talents behind the wheel. 2 cars prepared by 2 different manufacturers, 2 different shops. Who has the best car? Who will do the best job?
That last lap really hurt Kyle Larson. Where he caught those lap cars, he was 3/4 of a second back. After that lap, he was almost a second of the lap back.
Now running the higher line, not closing the gap. Larson with just 5 laps to go has to find something if he wants to get to victory lane at New Hampshire. Denny Hamlin's done it twice before. Diamonding the track now in the 11.
This is Larson's chance right here. Clean air in front of him. No lap cars for the next couple laps. Try to put 2 great laps together as the 11 tries to pass the 95.
The last time by, they were the 2 fastest laps. It was Kyle Larson that was the quickest, and Denny Hamlin was second quickest. The problem now is, as Denny Hamlin able to get in front of the lap car, Kyle Larson will have to negotiate around Michael McDowell. Working off turn 2. Down the back stretch they go. Hamlin with an 8/10 of a second lead over Kyle Larson. The gap now closing.
What do you guys want me to do here? Pass that 11 car, bud.
Kyle Larson, what do you want me to do? Pass the 11 car, the team said. The gap is closed now.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin,
3 to go.
Denny Hamlin missed his line down in 1 and 3 and 4. He was almost out of the groove. Look how high he is now.
Again, Larson closing the gap. Down the backstretch they go. Hamlin looked to be diamonding the track. Larson running right in the middle. Now Hamlin chooses a different line.
I think he has no choice. We saw the last 2 laps, the top line not working. He had to try something different coming to 2 to go.
And if you make a mistake in that top lane, you get out of that lane into all that debris and rubber, and it really kills your lap time. Half a second difference.
Half a second separate them. No cars in between. Denny Hamlin out front, hungry for his first win of 2017. Trying to get locked into the playoffs. He knows he's less than a lap and a half away from a victory. Back onto the front stretch.
He changed his line that time, entered way high into turn 3, trying to get a good run on corner exit.
White flag in the air one more time around. Can Denny Hamlin hold him off? The lap traffic's going to come into play again. Down the backstretch they go for the final time.
You're all clear. You will not get there. Smooth.
The spotters don't think he can get there. Denny Hamlin through 3 and 4. Hamlin, he's going to hold off Larson. Hamlin wins in 2017.
Backup car for the win. Well done, gentlemen. Love you guys. Celebrate. Thank you, team.
paying the respect to Martin Truex Jr. driving by, congratulating Denny Hamlin. That ends a 20-race winless streak. It dated all the way back to Texas of last year. For Joe Gibbs Racing, that was the winless streak. It had been 28 starts for Denny Hamlin between his last victory, which came last September in Richmond. But we heard Denny Hamlin make the comment to Kelly earlier. A little bit desperate. This team is desperate to get to victory lane. And Hamlin's going to start his celebration. This moment presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long. He's going to try to burn it down all the way in front of the grandstands at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What an impressive burnout here. And look at the fans lining the fence. And there went the rear tires. Steam flowing out the base of the windshield. That burnout was impressive. Middle of 1 and 2 all the way to the start-finish line. But Denny Hamlin hears it from the crowd.
For the crew, Rick, and I think this crowd loved that burnout. We'll get to that in a second. I want to know, how much were you watching your rearview mirror there on the 42 for those final few laps, Denny?
Yeah, I was just trying to do everything I could to pace. I knew he had a very fast car, and it just seemed like you know, we were able to get off the corner pretty good. And really, I just ran kind of a pace there, which I felt comfortable with. And just in case we had to restart, I didn't want to burn the tires up, but proud of this whole FedEx office team. Backup car. Put us behind the 8-ball on Friday, but it's cool to win one like this.
I think these fans enjoyed the burnout through 1 and 2 the most. That was impressive.
I wish I had more tires. I could have made it a full lap.
How about these fans, though? They've come down to the fence to see you here, Denny. And let's talk about the season at JGR. How tough, honestly, has it been, a 20-race winless streak for this organization?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough, but it's not from a lack of trying. We've been getting better every week, and as far as I'm concerned, I think we should race here 10 times a year.
There you go. I think these fans would agree with you. We'll see you in victory lane. Denny Hamlin, his 3rd New Hampshire win, and Rick, that's why he wishes we raced here 10 times a year.
And the celebration just beginning for Denny Hamlin and the 11 team. He burned the tires down, going through 1 and 2. Now he's going to see if he can hobble back to victory lane. The 11 team will be there when we come back. To start the 2017 season, Denny Hamlin felt like he had the Joe Gibbs Racing team on his shoulders. They were going to continue the domination they had brought from 2016. But a practice crash to start the New Hampshire weekend ended in victory lane. The backup car serving to propel Denny Hamlin all the way to the checkered flag, and he's making his way now into victory lane. And time to celebrate with his team. Trying to cover up the steam blowing out at the base of the windshield. That engine got really warm. Let's go down to Krista.
Rick, the celebration in victory lane about to begin. There's not much tire left on this 11 Toyota. Denny Hamlin gets Coca-Cola. Come on out of the car, Denny. Welcome to the playoffs, Denny Hamlin. Winner in New Hampshire. too, because you said, the first thing you said on the radio, this was a team effort. A backup car. You talked in the pre-race. I think you used the word, starting to feel desperation, urgency to make these playoffs. What's the feeling right now?
Yeah, it's just, it's a great feeling. I know we've been getting better and better as the year goes on, but definitely needed a win for the organization and for myself, and just kind of, get some momentum going. With the playoffs are coming up, so we got to get going. But really, this is awesome. We led a lot of laps for Safe Kids. FedEx donates $111 for every lap that we lead this season, so awesome for them to do that through the FedEx Cares program. Toyota, all their support, Coca-Cola, the Jordan brand. Just couldn't say enough about this race team. It's a team effort. For them to do the extra work to get us to that engine change before qualifying was key, and that pays off.
Wheels, I know you get to talk to your driver on the radio all the time, but now that he's standing in victory lane, you know you're the 11th driver in that 11 car going to the playoffs. Anything you want to say to him?
We're relieved. He did a good job. Everybody said we had a good chance today. He told me we didn't have to change much, and we were a little bit off base, but he made it work, and we executed today, and I'm really happy with these guys.
Yeah, I know the mantra for a long time there was all we do is win. You need a mantra. You need some sort of theme. What's it going to be for you guys this year?
I'm sure we got time now to figure it out.
They're in the playoffs, the 11 team. 30 wins for Denny Hamlin. He brings Joe Gibbs Racing back to victory lane here at New Hampshire, a 3-time winner. Congratulations, guys. Let's get this celebration going. These guys are ready back here.
Driver, crew chief, equal respect there. Let's take a look at today's Coca-Cola winning moment for Denny Hamlin. Past the 20 of Matt Kenseth with 34 laps to go, and then was able to hold off Kyle Larson and make it all the way to the checkered flag and victory lane. We are going to be here for an hour with you coming up on NBCSN. Make sure to stay with us, as plenty of driver interviews breaking down just how incredible this win was for Denny Hamlin. The two guys behind him have been the best. Kyle Larson and Martin Truex Jr. finishing second and third. Let's hear from the second place finisher. He's with Kelly.
A couple more laps, Kyle, and you might have gotten to the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Where did you see your best opportunity? Where did you see your best opportunity to try to make the move?
I felt like if I've ever got close enough to him, I could carry a lot more speed entry to middle than he could. So I felt like I could probably get close to him and then follow him in his line up top, and maybe try and get it pointed on exit better than him. But heck of a day for the Target team. Can't thank everybody enough. It's another time we didn't get to, well, I guess we didn't get to qualify this time, but had to start last, finish second again. So that's the third out of fourth time we've done that. So wish we could have got a win, but hard fought effort all day. Really proud of the team, and like I said, can't thank Target, Credit One Bank, all of our supporters enough for sticking with us through the last couple weeks. So we'll keep fighting hard. I keep saying I'm proud of everybody, but I really am. I feel like we've got a great shot at the championship, and we just got to keep working hard at it, and hopefully we'll be winning some more races in their homestead.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks, you've had to start from the back. You make it up to second. So is the takeaway that you've been able to do it, or is the takeaway that you've had to start in the back and make up so much ground?
Really, the only thing that stinks out starting in the back is your pit selection. Christopher Bell came from 20th to second yesterday in a 40-lap sprint car race. So what I did today wasn't as cool as that. But, yeah, if we could get the start up front and maybe get some stage wins, that'd be nice.
All right, thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.
Martin Truex Jr. restarted third with 4 fresh tires, but that wasn't enough, Martin. What was missing at the end?
Well, restarting third was not the best place to be, but, I'd like to have restarted fourth where Denny did. Obviously, that was where you wanted to be, but at the same time, I don't think our car was quite as good those last 2 runs. So VHT kind of wore off the track a bit there at the end, and probably the last 100 laps. And we lost our advantage. I think the first 200 we were really stout, and once we got that flat tire, I don't know if we knocked some cooling off the right front or what, but it just would build tight in 20 laps, and I couldn't run with them. So it was a good day. We had to battle hard, a little bit of adversity there, and come home third was a good day.
Can you describe that moment? Because really, coming to pit road for that emergency stop, you almost put yourself in the catbird seat because you had enough fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, Yes and no. Tires mean a lot here now. So we were looking good there for a while, and then Matt run us down and passed us like we were standing still on much fresher tires. So we were actually lucky to get that caution there and get to pit with everybody and come out on equal grounds and try to race them forward. Just didn't have it at the end with the Wicks Toyota.
Solid day, strong race car.
Very much so. And next Sunday, the Monster Energy Cup Series will be at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That race coverage from the Brickyard begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Take a look at the playoff standings. 19 races now in the books, and add another name to the win column. Now, Denny Hamlin with that win. Matt Kenseth just on the good side of the playoff numbers, 16th as compared to Joey Logano outside of that playoff list. 16 will make it into the playoffs at the end of the regular season. One of the lucky things that we have had now is it will be 2 out of the 3 guests that we have had from the Hall of Fame will be coming in as the most recent winner in the Cup Series. NASCAR America at 5 o'clock. And live from the Hall of Fame on Wednesday, it will be race winner from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Denny Hamlin, joining us. Time now for the post-race show with Chris Devoda, Kyle Petty, and Dale Jarrett.
Thanks, Rick. Great job on that race. And I don't know if I'm a driver or a driver's PR rep. I say book your driver on NASCAR America, the Hall of Fame.
Got them lined up now.
That's, like he said,
exactly
2 of 3. You win a race, you come on our show. We're going to have over the next few minutes here some driver interviews. You're going to hear from some of the other drivers there. You see Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. as Denny Hamlin is handed the 44-pound lobster that goes to this year's winner, and he's done this 3 times total now. His first win here at New Hampshire, though, since 2012. But more importantly, and he used the word, and I asked him about this, desperation in a pre-race interview with Kelly Stavis. You know, they knew that their opportunities were running out to make it into the playoffs, and they've had momentum the last few races, but unless you have that win, you do not have that ticket in hand. And we even sense that. You sense that with the way some of these guys are racing, especially with these stages, Dale.
Yeah, still very uncomfortable. Even though they were in a good position points-wise, I think you would look at this team, and as solid as they are, but they understand anything can happen. You got to racetracks like Pocono and Watkins Glen, where a lot of cars finish on the lead lap, you just don't ever feel comfortable. Now they know that they are there. Now, as far as the guys behind them looking, it really didn't change anything for them, because this was somebody that was ahead of them already. So it really didn't change that. Kind of the best case scenario for them, if somebody knew who's going to win, then it's somebody that was up there pretty far. But you could tell, just in Denny's expression, the way that he talked, it was a huge relief for him to get this victory.
Yeah, 2 things. I think book yourself to the Hall of Fame show for NASCAR America and listen to what my man Dale Jarrett says. He said we would have a new winner today.
He did.
What?
No, take the credit. No, take the
I'm
credit.
giving you credit, man. I'm saying listen
I appreciate
to my man.
that, but the question was also asked directly by Krista to me, would Denny Hamlin win today? And I said, no, it would be his teammate Kyle Busch.
I give you 50-50 on that.
I appreciate it.
I was just going to let you have the credit.
But the cool part is, just as Dale said, this is not the Gibbs team that I thought was going to be standing in victory lane right at this point in time in the season. I would have put my money on, as bad as Matt Kenseth has struggled and run, I would have thought maybe Matt, definitely Kyle Busch would have been the team to jump through. But the Gibbs organization ran good here today. Daniel Suarez finished 6th. Great run for Daniel Suarez. You've got to give him a tip of the hat. But just a good day for the Toyotas.
And what you're seeing here, you might be wondering, I mean, we're in New Hampshire. Why is Denny Hamlin holding a basket of Georgia peaches? You see Atlanta Motor Speedway's Ed Clark with the Brady jersey. That's Josh Daniels, the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots in the white t-shirt. A little bit of a Super Bowl bet. New England Patriots here, Atlanta Falcons there. So that's why he has the Georgia peaches.
Okay, I like the Georgia peaches. I'm just going to say Ed Clark can never go back in the state of Georgia with that Brady shirt on. I'm going to say that. But Denny Hamlin can go wherever he wants to. Remember, did Denny Hamlin, we need to ask him when he comes over here. The last time he won here was 2012. 2012. Did he call that win? Was that the win he called? Remember when he got in that situation, he was like, we're going to New Hampshire and win a race. And they went to New Hampshire and won a race. I'm not sure that's it. But this is a place that he knows how to get around. We talked about it earlier, Dell and I in the truck, when we watched Kyle Larson come from the back to the front. The only guy I've ever seen do that has been Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin has driven around outside, inside, before we put the sticky stuff on the racetrack. Denny knew how to get around this place.
Yeah, and Denny is, I read something this week he talked about that he's just, he's a short track racer, and he's an outstanding short track racer, and this is a mile-long racetrack. Yeah, not considered a short track, but every driver will tell you this is a short track. And Denny, this is where he performs at his best. Where other people struggle, he's smooth into the corner, he's great with the brake pedal, and he really gets off the corners very, very well. So it plays right into his hand, and he seems to be able to pull that up. If we would have talked to Denny Hamlin about 12:30 Friday afternoon or 12:40, whenever he lost it off of turn 4 and hit the inside wall and had to go to a backup car, he qualified no laps on that backup car, still qualified in the top 10. But that's just how good a short track racer he is, and this whole situation just played right in his hands today.
The celebration continuing just a few steps behind us. In fact, we're going to have confetti stuck all over us because we're here in Victory Lane. You see Denny, longtime girlfriend Jordan Fish. They're expecting their second child, Taylor. Their daughter is there in Victory Lane as well. And it was really a good day all around for Joe Gibbs Racing. You saw Kyle Busch with some strategy running up front. The other 3 cars all finishing in the top 10, including the driver who spoke a few moments ago with Dave Burns.
Matt's crew chief Jason told me there would be a JGR car in Victory Lane today. Did you think it was going to be you, Matt, with that strategy near the end?
After we came off pit road with 2 tires, no, I did not think it was going to be us because there was nobody behind me. They were all back there still putting lefts on, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Jason and the crew did a great job today. We had a fast DeWalt Camry. We had good pit stops. He had good strategy to get us those stage points and had a good enough car to still get back through and finish pretty good in the second stage. So I felt like we had the car. We just needed to have those left side tires on at the end.
With everything going on around you right now, was that a statement today to say, we're not distracted, we are championship bound?
It doesn't make any difference. It really doesn't. I mean, that's all way out in the future. That doesn't change anything we do for today. You don't try any harder and you don't try any less. You do the best you can every week. When you try to do anything different than that, the results always go downhill. So race as hard as we could race today, and they gave me a great race car. It just didn't work out.
What they did was race hard, almost won today.
The rookie Daniel Suarez ties his career best finish with a 6th place here. How were you able to get it done on such a tricky, difficult track today?
It was a long day for sure. But you know what? These guys, they never give up. They work very hard all weekend long. Just to make adjustments in the car and trying to make the car a little bit better. The racetrack changed pretty much all weekend with the BHT and with the weather. I think today has been the sunniest day of the whole weekend. So we had some couple issues there in the pit road, leaving my box and stuff, but very proud of these guys. We make some good adjustments in the last couple runs, and we're able to overcome for a good finish.
Your teammate Denny Hamlin, meanwhile, in Victory Lane. So Joe Gibbs Racing now finally has that win. What do you think that can do for the organization as a whole?
You know, this sport is built of momentum. So, half of the season without wins, it was something big. So now with Denny getting finally one trip to Victory Lane, it's a big deal for Joe Gibbs Racing, and hopefully we can build on that and move forward.
Thank you.
How many folks do you think on the backstretch or in the campground were cheering for Daniel Suarez today just because he brought them breakfast? If you didn't watch our pre-race show, Daniel was out in the campground handing out Dunkin' Donuts. But just a great day all around for Joe Gibbs Racing, especially after the dominance they had last year, and they've kind of been in a bit of a hole in 2017.
Yeah, and I think we go back to Kyle Busch. He had a winning car. Yeah. Had his pit road speeding penalty that relegated him to the finish that he had. But you can't take him out of that mix. So when you have Daniel Suarez and Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, all potentially with the top 5, top 6, top 7 finishes, you can't really say JGR is back. But you can say they can have an impact on this chase if they continue on these playoffs, if they continue in this direction. Daniel Suarez probably run as good a race as he's run all year long. And this kid, we've seen it before in the Xfinity Series. First 6 months, you don't even know he's there. Once you make the turn at Daytona, he gets better and better and better, and I think he showed that today.
Yeah, very quick learner. I really thought it would take him at least a full year to kind of figure these cars out, the lower downforce, everything involved. And the racing every week is so much more difficult, but you can see the progress that he has made. But as you talked about Joe Gibbs Racing, it really was an outstanding day for them, and I think they're turning a corner. If you can make cars go around this racetrack at a high level, then you're figuring things out, because it's such a difficult handling battling track and to make things work. Bodes well for them, I think, setting up for next week, because I think we've seen over probably the last 4 or 5 races, Toyota's brought some more horsepower too to these guys. That certainly makes the drivers happy, makes their job a little bit easier if they're not having to overdrive the cars, which in turn burns the tires off of it. So they're figuring a lot of things out, and I would expect to see more Victory Lane celebrations for them in the near future.
Speaking of celebration, Denny Hamlin about to pop the cork on that champagne. There we go. The crew. Oh, it's all. I think they're going after.
That was a plan. You saw them whispering each other. They had a plan. One guy they were going after right there. That was pretty cool.
But
pretty cool.
They deserve to celebrate. Denny Hamlin, that 11 team, become the 11th different team to make the playoffs. And we're going to be with you here for the next few minutes, and then we're not done with racing, because when we finish here in New Hampshire, we'll send you a little bit further, I guess, would it be north, a little west to Toronto for the IndyCar Series. That's coming up when we're finished here in Loudon, New Hampshire. But we still have more drivers to hear from, including today's winner, Denny Hamlin. Will be coming over. Kyle, I don't know if he's bringing the lobster. We'll have to see. We know Denny will be here, so stick around.